Chapter 293. A strong wind blew behind him, kicking up a boundless cloud of dust. The clouds churned in the sky, moving continuously for 18,000 meters. Immediately, the wind blew and the clouds churned. The sky changed color. Morongchang's aura rushed to the 9 heavens. It was like he was the only king in the world. As he stood there, he was like a treasured saber drawn from its scabbard. He could even pierce through the sky with it. When Morongchang swung his saber, a cold saber light lit up. In an instant, the wind stopped and the clouds stopped moving. Only the saber light remained resplendent. Morongchang relaxed his wrist and the saber light immediately left the saber. It turned into a surging saber chi and charged towards the ground. A 10-meter wide and 30-meter deep gorge immediately appeared on the ground. The saber chi was like a pillar, flying for 5,000 meters before stopping. When one looked into the distance, one could not see the end of the 5-kilometer-long gorge. The remnant state of wind and cloud lingered in the gorge for a long time. Dust rose from the ground and danced chaotically in the wind. Dang! Morongchang sheathed his saber and stood upright. He looked at the boundless dust in front and the horrifying gorge below. There was no expression on his stern face. He said indifferently, Lu Ruyue will definitely tell Yichen about the 9 secret techniques of Qinyan Peak. I cannot use them as my true trump cards. Only the great perfection state of cloud, and the self-created 3 styles of wind and cloud can be my true trump cards. Now that the state of wind has reached great perfection as well, the wind and cloud perfectly merged. No one under Martial King will be a match for me. The sun rose and set. The clouds gathered and dispersed. 5 days passed just like that. The 8th move of the Wuxia saber technique was harder to learn than Xiaochen had expected. He spent 3.5 days before he completely learned this move. Then he merged it with the state of thunder. On the other hand, the adjustments to the rushing thunder roars were easier. Xiaochen was already very familiar with this move when he was in the Devil Savannah. Now he only changed the original group attack martial technique into a single target attack. There were not many changes to it. To Xiaochen, who had consumed the flowing light flower, it was not difficult. Looking at the setting sun, Xiaochen sheathed his saber and began his journey back to the mountain. He executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art, and his figure flickered, turning into a beam of purple light as he flew away. In less than the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, Xiaochen returned to his own courtyard. He discovered that Lu Ruyue, and Bai, who had been playing outside for the past few days, were waiting for him. Xiaochen leaped into the air and landed firmly on the ground. He smiled faintly and said, "Why are you all here?" Lu Suifeng smiled and said, "With the great battle ahead, I will give you some encouragement. I will take my leave first. My sister will tell you some information about Morongchang. I hope it will be of some help to you." After consuming the tendon refining flower, Lu Ruyue's complexion was much redder than before. She no longer looked as weak as before. She wore the tight robes of a cultivator once again. After Lu Suifeng left, Lu Ruyue got up and looked at Xiaochen carefully. She discovered that his aura was much more vigorous than it was 5 days ago. His strength had improved greatly. "Come with me to the dueling grounds," Lu Ruyue said softly as her red lips parted. Xiaochen nodded and followed Lu Ruyue to the dueling grounds. The two of them stood facing each other in the dueling grounds, separated by 5 meters. Lu Ruyue said, "Before Morongchang left Qinyan Peak, he was only slightly weaker than me. Now that 3 years have passed, his strength will only become more horrifying. I will tell you everything I know." Firstly, he learned 4 of the 9 secret techniques of Qinyan Peak. They are the profound wind chop, the peerless lunar shadow, the clear wind chop, and the flickering light passing shadow. You should be more familiar with the profound wind chop and the clear wind chop. I will demonstrate the peerless lunar shadow and the flickering light passing shadow for you. Xiaochen quickly said, "Elder Sister Ruyue, just explain it to me. My meridians have just recovered. It is best not to use essence." Lu Ruyue revealed a smile on her flirtatious face. "It's fine, I know my limits. Watch carefully first. This is the peerless lunar shadow." Kassier. Lu Ruyue immediately drew her saber and sent out a cold saber light. 2 crescent moon-shaped scarlet saber chi appeared on the tip of the saber. Following Lu Riyue's actions, the two crescent moons merged together and formed a full moon behind her. The dueling grounds suddenly turned pitch black. The scarlet full moon slowly rose up, illuminating the dark space with a scarlet light. Lu Riyue's body flew up together with the full moon. Under the illumination of the scarlet light, Lu Riyue's body was scarlet. She looked very bewitching and beautiful. The tip of the saber was pointed at Xiaochen. The aura in this space seemed to have gathered at that point. Xiaochen frowned slightly. He felt an indescribable pressure in his heart. The qi and blood in his body became restless uncontrollably. He felt an indescribable irritation. What a powerful martial technique. It can actually break my heart. Xiaochen was secretly startled. He quickly calmed himself down and guarded his dantian. Only then did the uncomfortable feeling slowly disappear. Dang! Lu Riyue sheathed her saber, and the mysterious phenomenon disappeared. Her body slowly fell to the ground. When she landed, she staggered and nearly fell over. Xiaochen was startled and quickly went over to support Lu Riyue. When he saw Lu Riyue's face turn pale again, he said, "Don't risk your life. Elder sister Riyue, just explain it to me. There is no need to demonstrate it." Lu Riyue revealed a bitter smile on her pale face. She struggled to stand up from Xiaochen's grasp. "It looks like I am forcing myself. Let me explain it to you in detail. Peerless lunar shadow is a mysterious phenomenon created by using one's own killing qi. This martial technique is derived from the divine saber camp's blood shadow chop. The stronger a person's killing qi, the stronger the might of this martial technique. When you face this move, your heart cannot become chaotic. Otherwise, when the killing qi enters your body, you will not even have the chance to draw your saber." Xiaochen nodded. "I understand. I felt it earlier. However, my character has always been tenacious. My heart will not become chaotic so easily." Seeing Xiaochen being careless, Lu Riyue revealed a serious expression on her pale face. She said, "You cannot be careless." Back then, for the sake of practicing this move to great perfection, Morongchong personally killed 50 groups of bandits in the Devil Savannah. If not 10,000 bandits died at his hands, there were at least 8,000. His killing qi is extremely horrifying. When Xiaochen heard this, he was slightly startled. He did not expect Morongchong to be so cold-blooded. For the sake of a martial technique, he dyed himself with the blood of tens of thousands of people. However, Xiaochen remembered that when he saw Morongchong, he did not feel any signs of killing qi leaking out. If what Lu Riyue said was true, then it could only mean that Morongchong had already reached a level where he could release and withdraw his killing qi as he pleased. In order to hide so much killing qi, aside from strength, there was an even harsher requirement on one's temperament. What kind of person was this Morongchong? He had a horrifying talent for cultivation, a cold-blooded and decisive personality, and an incomparably tenacious willpower. It was hard to find a weakness in such a person. Lu Riyue continued, "However, you don't have to mind it too much. If you are unable to defeat him in terms of killing qi, you can use this move to destroy the mysterious phenomenon in advance. You can destroy it before the two crescent moons meet." Xiaochen thought, this is a method. However, this move has to be fast enough for me to not be able to react in time. "Thank you, elder sister Riyue," Xiaochen said seriously. Lu Riyue smiled faintly and continued. "The remaining move is flickering light passing shadow. I do not know this move as well. I only know that it is a cloning martial technique infused with the state of light. It can condense countless clones, making it hard to distinguish the real from the fake in the sky filled with light and shadows. However, Morongchong's main cultivation is the state of wind. You should not spend too much time practicing this move. You just need to know about it." After that, Lu Riyue explained Morongchong's other strengths to Xiaochen in detail. The worry in her eyes did not disappear for even a moment. Remember, at the crucial moment, do not risk your life. Your life is always the most important. To me, even if I manage to keep this Qingyan peak, it would be a great regret if you are not around. So you must promise me, just admit defeat if you cannot defeat him. Just as Xiaochen was about to leave, Lu Riyue spoke to him in a serious tone. When Xiaochen agreed, Lu Riyue revealed a satisfied smile. and left the dueling grounds. Early the next morning, the breaking sun shone through the window into Xiao Chen's bedroom. Feeling the piercing gaze, Xiao Chen immediately woke up from his sleep. With a huge battle looming over him, he did not cultivate. Instead, he took a good nap, resting his body and mind. After washing up, Xiao Chen felt energized. His entire body, both inside and out, was in peak condition. Lu Ruyue and Lu Suifeng were already waiting outside the courtyard. After asking around, Xiao Chen found out that the Peak Master contest would not be held on the heaven viewing platform, which he was very familiar with. Instead, it would be held on the heaven ascending platform, which he had been to once before. Lu Ruyue waved her hand at the sky. A huge heavenly wind eagle circled in the air, before landing in front of everyone with a strong gust of wind. After the three of them jumped onto the heavenly wind eagle, the person riding the heavenly wind eagle shouted. The heavenly wind eagle immediately soared into the sky with a berserk wind. Normally, aside from major events, there would not be a single person on the heaven ascending platform of the Lingyun mountain range. However, there was an endless stream of people going up the mountain. It was very lively. There was a huge dueling ground on the platform. Spectator seats surrounded it. In the middle, there was a huge arena that was 2,000 meters long and 100 meters wide. There was no need to wonder why the arena was so big. It was because every Peak Master contest involved battles between martial kings. For a battle of this level, a regular arena would not be enough for them to display their full potential. Murong Chong stood expressionlessly in a corner of the arena with his eyes closed. The spectator seats were filled with people. Furthermore, there were many cultivators rushing over in this direction. It is the Peak Master contest again. I did not expect Murong Chong to attack Qingyan Peak. Unfortunately, Lu Ruyue is injured. Qingyan Peak will not be able to hold on this time. That might not be the case. Yi Chun is now a super genius who can defeat the experts of the older generation. In terms of talent, he is definitely not weaker than Murong Chong. His chances of victory should be 50-50. Chapter 294. Haha, you are too naive. Murong Chong was already a peak superior grade martial saint long ago. It is not like there were no experts of the older generation that died at his hands. The two of them might have the same talent, but in terms of cultivation, Xiao Chen is weaker. He does not have much of a chance of victory against Murong Chong. I think so too. Murong Chong's strength has always been very stable. Furthermore, he has practiced all of Qingyan Peak's secret techniques to great perfection. The cultivation techniques and martial techniques he practices are all at the peak of his generation. Furthermore, he has a flawless character. It is hard to imagine that he would lose to Yi Chen. However, why is Yi Chen not here yet? I heard that Mu Qingxue fell last night, and has not left the arena since then. Before the fight started, the crowd had already started discussing the two fervently. Although the results were mostly in favor of Murong Chong, they were certain of Xiao Chen's strength. They felt that Murong Chong would not win easily. This would never have happened in the past. However, the series of events proved that Xiao Chen's strength was not just for show. It was real and not an exaggeration. Murong Chong, who was in the arena, did not care about the discussions around him. Suddenly, he opened his eyes and saw a heavenly wind eagle flying towards him. He said indifferently, "He is finally here." When Xiao Chen saw Murong Chong waiting for him in the arena, he calmed himself and leaped off the heavenly wind eagle. He landed firmly in the arena. Lu Ruyue watched the two people about to fight. Her heart was filled with complicated emotions. She muttered softly, "I hope nothing happens to them." Seeing Xiao Chen land, an old man who was a medial grade martial king immediately walked over. He would be the referee for this fight. At the same time, he was also a member of the Elders' Assembly. The old man waved his hand and the two of them moved back 100 meters. Then he said indifferently, "There is no such thing as leniency in the fight for the Peak Master position. However, I will only say one thing. We are all from the same sect. If one side admits defeat, please stop. Cut the crap. Let the fight begin. The victor will decide who Qingyan Peak belongs to." After the old man finished speaking, he lightly tapped the ground with his toes and quickly retreated. Murong Chong and Xiao Chen were separated by 200 meters. They looked at each other and placed their right hands on their saber hilts. Their auras gathered continuously. At this moment, the originally noisy spectator stands were completely silent. Countless pairs of eyes were staring at the two people in the arena. Wuxia. A red light flashed in Morongchang's eyes. The killing chi that he had been suppressing followed this gaze and shot toward Xiaoqun. The murderous aura was almost tangible, rippling like water in the air, compressing and enveloping a 1-meter radius around Xiaoqun. Instantly, countless miserable cries rang out in Xiaoqun's ears. Horrifying images appeared before his eyes. These were the resentment left behind by the people Morongchang killed. Indeed, he can withdraw and release his killing chi as he pleases. No, it is even more profound than that. He is able to surround me with his killing chi and not disperse it. Such a method is already a high-level technique for controlling killing chi. Xiaoqun was mildly astonished as he thought to himself. However, his expression remained calm. There were no fluctuations in his emotions. Focusing and guarding his chi, Xiaoqun's heart was incomparably calm. A clear glow appeared in his calm eyes. His strong spiritual sense protected his heart, not being affected by the killing chi. He allowed the strong killing chi to reverberate around him. Xiaoqun's gaze remained incomparably clear, guarding his heart. Slowly, those illusions broke by themselves and disappeared. Morongchang's grave and stern face did not show any expression. When he saw that the killing chi was useless, he decisively withdrew it. Hoo-hoo. In the arena, a strong wind suddenly blew behind Morongchang, kicking up a large cloud of dust. Occasionally, there were angry roars coming from the wind. Thunderclouds gathered above Xiaoqun's head, churning continuously. Muffled thunder resounded continuously. The auras that the two had been accumulating for a long time finally erupted. They started to compete in states. The berserk state of wind against the surging state of thunder. Immediately, the wind blew and the clouds churned. The sky changed color. The sun in the sky was covered by the dark clouds, completely losing its light. The arena turned dark. Furthermore, the strong wind kicked up a cloud of dust. Aside from a few cultivators with good eyesight, most of the spectators could not see the situation in the arena clearly. How powerful! Before the duel officially started, the competition of states is already so horrifying. No wonder they can fight across cultivation realms and kill inferior grade martial kings. The people in the spectator stands were astonished. Dang! In that instant, 2 resplendent saber lights lit up in the boundless strong wind. The sharp saber lights immediately scattered the dust on the arena. The 2 of them drew their sabers at the same time, and sent out a strand of saber chi each. When the saber chi clashed in the air, it created a surging shockwave that spread out. Morongchang was somewhat astonished to discover that the density of his saber chi was not as strong as Xiaoqun's. After the purple saber chi shattered his saber chi, it weakened significantly. However, it still quickly flew towards Morongchang. Morongchang pushed off the ground and silently leaped forward. He swung his saber and easily shattered the weakened purple saber chi. Then, he rushed at Xiaoqun without slowing down. Xiaoqun did not show any fear. He shouted and charged forward as well. Dang! 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 The sounds of weapons clashing resounded in the arena. Instantly, the sound of wind, thunder, and the clanging of weapons merged together and reverberated in the arena. In the blink of an eye, the 2 of them exchanged dozens of moves. They countered each other's moves, not giving way to each other. After a while, they shouted and retreated 100 meters. The strong wind scattered and the dust settled. The situation of the arena returned to the crowd's eyes. The gazes of the 2 were like sabers clashing intensely in the air. Xiaoqun held his saber tightly in his right hand. He maintained a high level of vigilance. This was because the earlier exchanges were just probing moves. Next, they would be fighting for real. Morongchang revealed a faint smile on his stern face. He said, "After not seeing you for a month, your strength has indeed improved beyond my expectations. You are now qualified to challenge me. However, that is only the right to challenge me." Qingyan Peak Secret Technique, Peerless Lunar Shadow. Morongchang shouted ferociously, and the saber in his hand danced around. 2 scarlet saber chi of the crescent moon moved in 2 beautiful arcs in the air as they flew at Xiaoqun. The saber chi contained a boundless killing chi. Everywhere it passed, scarlet ribbons appeared. They looked very beautiful, as if they were blood. Glittering Wuxia. Knowing how powerful the peerless lunar shadow was, Xiaochen did not dare to be careless. He brandished the snow-white lunar shadow 9 times in the air, bringing out the glittering Wuxia to its limits. The 9 divine Wuxia tree branches turned into dense saber chi. They were like spears stabbing at the scarlet saber chi in the air. Morongcheng smiled faintly and shook the saber in his wrist. The 2 scarlet crescent moons paused in the air for a moment. Then they strangely moved in a semicircle. The point where the crescent moons intersected was where Xiaochen stood. With such a sudden change, he dodged the 9 purple saber chi that Xiaochen sent out. Windwalk shoes activate. Retreat. The speed of the crescent moons instantly reached the speed of sound. Morongcheng had actually infused the state of wind into them. Xiaochen did not dare to be careless. He activated the windwalk shoes and circulated the blue dragon cloud soaring art. His body turned into a purple arrow as he retreated. Bang! The instant Xiaochen retreated, the 2 crescent moons merged together and formed a scarlet full moon on the ground. A horrifying red shockwave spread out in all directions. When the shockwave radiated outwards, a mud wall rose up from the ground. Even though Xiaochen had already avoided it, the speed and might of the shockwave from the scarlet moon still surpassed his expectations. The surging shockwave struck Xiaochen's body and pushed him back a few hundred meters. The killing chi contained in the shockwave roared in his mind continuously. Xiaochen's chi and blood surged, and resentment filled his mind. All the blood in his body surged uncontrollably. An irresistible frustration, and a desire to massacre rose in his heart. Damn it! Xiaochen no longer cared about his pride. He circulated his essence and gathered the surging chi and blood. Then he opened his mouth and spat it out. The surging chi and blood and the boundless killing chi all vanished. Up in the spectator stands, Lu Riyue frowned tightly. Worry was written all over her charming face. She did not expect Xiaochen to suffer a small loss at the start of the fight. Morongcheng's comprehension of the peerless lunar shadow had already reached the peak of consummation. When he infused it with the berserk state of wind, he pushed the might of this move to a horrifying limit. Ooh! Morongcheng's body slowly flew up into the sky. The 2 crescent moon-shaped saber chi on the ground separated and flew back behind him. The crescent moons merged together and formed a true blood moon. A pitch-black night descended, blocking out all the sunlight. It also covered up the dark clouds that Xiaochen's state of thunder brought, leaving not a trace behind. Xiaochen's connection to the state of thunder was completely severed. Xiaochen was greatly astonished. He tried a few times but discovered that he could not connect to his state of thunder. Under the cover of the night, he had completely severed his connection to the outside world. This is the effect of a consummation mysterious phenomenon. It can form something like a barrier. Xiaochen's state of thunder has been cut off. I did not expect Morongcheng to have comprehended his mysterious phenomenon to consummation. This is something that several martial kings are unable to do. Indeed, the mysterious phenomenon has little to do with cultivation. It relies entirely on one's talent and comprehension ability. After losing the state of thunder, Xiaochen's situation is worrying. The knowledgeable people in the spectator stands all side. Morongcheng comprehended the mysterious phenomenon of consummation. Such a martial king could be said to be an unrivaled existence. Fighting against those of a higher cultivation realm, killing a regular inferior grade martial king would be as easy as killing a dog. Lu Riyue's heart was in her mouth. Morongcheng was much stronger than she had imagined. Even she would have a headache dealing with this move. When Xiaochen saw the scarlet full moon rising higher and Morongcheng, who was illuminated by the scarlet light of the full moon, his heart slowly calmed down. Chapter 295. If he had thought of a way to break the 2 scarlet saber chi earlier, he would not be in such a situation. Unfortunately, he was not decisive enough at that time. He did not want to exhaust too much essence in one go. Xiaochen blamed himself in his heart. However, this was not the time for regrets. He was far from the final step. His confidence could not be shaken. Since he could not use the state of thunder, the might of the Wuxia saber technique would be significantly reduced. If he could not use it to break this situation, Then there was no need to mention the Lingyun saber technique. He could only think of another way. I got it. Suddenly, Xiao Chen thought of a way to break this situation. Since he could not use his state, then he would use his strongest mysterious phenomenon to clash with it. Thinking of this, Xiao Chen's frown slowly relaxed. He shouted, and the snow-white lunar shadow saber in his hand suddenly gave off a glass-like glow. Flight on wings, moon bright like fire. A golden full moon slowly rose up behind Xiao Chen, matching the scarlet moon in the sky. The faint golden moonlight sprinkled down a gentle light that shone on the ground, forming a sharp contrast with the bright and glistening blood moon. What's going on? A full moon appeared behind Xiao Chen as well. Someone in the spectator stands exclaimed. What is he trying to do? His mysterious phenomenon has clearly not reached consummation. If he uses it to clash with Morong Chong, he will definitely be at a disadvantage, Lu Suifeng said anxiously. Looking at the rising full moon, Lu Ruyue suddenly understood Xiao Chen's intentions. The worry on her face lessened. At least this peerless lunar shadow would not pose a fatal threat to Xiao Chen. The golden full moon was as bright as fire in the sky. A resolute expression flashed on Xiao Chen's face. He shouted, and the full moon headed straight for Morong Chong. What is he trying to do? Clashing with his mysterious phenomenon? This is too crazy. Doing this will harm the enemy and himself. In such a situation, there is actually no other choice. What Yi Chen is doing is the only way to break Morong Chong's mysterious phenomenon. When the people below saw Xiao Chen controlling the bright moon and sending it crashing into the full moon behind Morong Chong, they were all astonished. Morong Chong's face, which had been calm all this while, also revealed faint shock. Then he smiled coldly and said, "Since you want to fight, I will fulfill your wish." Xiao Chen shouted, and the scarlet full moon gave off a resplendent red light. It carried a boundless killing chi as it flew towards the golden moon controlled by Xiao Chen without hesitation. The golden yellow and blood-red moons streaked across the sky, causing ripples to appear in space wherever they passed, as if they were about to shatter. Bang! The two moons clashed violently in the sky, creating a loud explosion. The entire arena on the heaven-ascending platform started to shake. The spectators who were sitting far away also started to shake. The ground kept shaking, as if it was going to split open. It made people feel fear for no reason. Too strong. This is comparable to a battle between martial kings, a disciple in the distance said. Xiao. The two full moons shattered at the same time. The pitch-black space immediately shattered into pieces. The sunlight that had not shone for a long time impatiently shone down from the sky. At first, there was only one strand. Then there were 2 strands, 3 strands. Suddenly, the light spread out rapidly. The sky above the arena turned bright once more. The complexions of Xiao Chen and Morong Chong were somewhat pale. This was a clash of mysterious phenomena that were of equal strength. This was a significant blow to both sides. However, Morong Chong was in a slightly better state than Xiao Chen. Although his mysterious phenomenon was of equal strength to Xiao Chen's, it had already reached consummation after all. It was still slightly stronger. After resting for a moment, Morong Chong shouted and raised his saber. Then he turned into a cool breeze and charged over again. However, there was no killing chi on his body, not even a trace of killing intent. Finally, his figure strangely vanished from everyone's sight. Was it the clear wind chop again? Xiao Chen wiped the blood from the corner of his lips and revealed a cold smile. Morong Chong had not practiced the clear wind chop to consummation. He had only perfectly merged the great perfection clear wind chop with the state of wind. That was how he managed to achieve such an effect. This move was Morong Chong's signature move. This was the first time Xiao Chen had encountered it. Even so, he was at a loss as to what to do. However, after Xiao Chen perfectly merged the state of thunder with the saber technique, he no longer had a headache dealing with this move. Wuxia transforms to Qi. Xiao Chen shouted, and an ancient divine tree appeared from nowhere. It turned into strands of purple saber Qi dancing around in the air. Rumble. The thunderclouds above Xiao Chen's head gathered again, churning continuously. The state of thunder and saber technique merged perfectly. As Xiao Chen made his move, thunder roared in the sky. Morong Chong, who was hidden in the cool breeze, frowned when he saw the purple saber chi filling the sky. These saber chi infused with the state of thunder could already injure Morong Chong, who was hidden in the wind. With such a large area, he would not be able to approach safely. Xiao Chen extended out his spiritual sense and scanned the area continuously. Finally, he felt an unusual fluctuation in the direction of 8 o'clock. Qi breaks Wuxia. Without any hesitation, the instant Xiao Chen discovered that blurry figure, he immediately executed the third move of the Wuxia saber technique. Thunder roared in the sky. The countless strands of purple saber qi in the air merged into an incomparably resplendent saber qi the instant the thunder roared. Then it flew towards the place where Xiao Chen sensed it. The instant the thunder roared, Morong Chong felt a trace of danger. However, just as he was about to make a move, he discovered that the resplendent saber qi was already before him as the thunder roared. The speed of that saber qi actually surpassed the speed of sound in that instant. Regardless of whether he moved to the left or right, he would not be able to dodge it. Flickering light passing shadow. In the time it took for a spark to fly, Morong Chong's figure suddenly appeared. A bright light exploded in Xiao Chen's vision. The light was so dazzling that it hurt his eyes. Oh no, it's flickering light passing shadow. Quickly close your eyes. Under the illumination of this dazzling light, some of the cultivators in the spectator stands who were stunned by the sudden appearance of this light felt a stinging pain in their eyes. They were temporarily blinded. Instantly, there were many miserable cries. Some of the smarter cultivators had already closed their eyes and dodged this calamity. Wuxia. The resplendent saber qi formed by the qi breaks Wuxia crashed into the light with a loud boom. The light scattered. Morong Chong's figure split into 9. Each of his figures flickered with a white light. The white light merged together, dazzling everyone's eyes. It was hard to tell which was the real one. Roaming Dragon's 9 transformations, clear wind chop. Xiao Chen squinted his eyes and his figure wavered. He turned into 9 cool breezes. Each breeze carried a figure as they charged at Morong Chong's figure. Dang, dang, dang. A chaotic battle immediately broke out in the arena. 18 figures fought in this manner on the arena. The sounds of sabers clashing mixed with the light and shadows. It was too much for the spectators to keep up, making them feel dizzy. Logically speaking, Xiao Chen's martial technique, which merged the roaming dragon's 9 transformations and the clear wind chop, should be stronger than Morong Chong's flickering light passing shadow. Unfortunately, Morong Chong was very familiar with the clear wind chop. The hidden killing intent was ineffective against him. Furthermore, this was the first time Xiao Chen came into contact with the flickering light passing shadow. Under the situation where his vision was affected, he was at a disadvantage. I can't go on like this. I have to use a killing move, Xiao Chen thought to himself. Wuxia blossoms. Xiao Chen shouted and suddenly, a purple light flowed out from the feet of the 9 figures. 9 flower buds appeared on the ground and wrapped around Xiao Chen's figure. When Morong Chong's saber struck the flower buds, it did not cause any ripples. It could not stop the flower buds from growing. Flickering light passing shadow, 9 figures combined chop. With a hula sound, the 9 figures that Morong Chong had turned into merged together, flickering with layers of white light. They turned into a beam of light and rushed forward. In the instant Morong Chong's 9 figures merged, the 9 flower buds on the ground also merged together. Boom. The instant the flower buds merged, they suddenly bloomed. Purple petals filled the air. Xiao Chen pushed off the ground and passed through the petals, rushing towards Morong Chong, who had turned into a beam of light. Beams of purple light landed on Xiao Chen's body from the petals, instantly increasing his speed to Mach 2. The purple figure and the white figure both tore through the air, leaving behind long shock waves. They instantly crossed each other among the petals. Wuxia. In the instant they crossed each other, the two of them each sent out a saber strike at lightning speed. After that, their figures continued rushing forward. After Morong Chong stabilized himself, he looked at the blood spurting out of his chest. There was a look of disbelief on his stern face. How can he be faster than me? In the time it took for a spark to fly, Xiao Chen's saber had stabbed into his chest. However, the tip of his saber had only pierced the afterimage that Xiao Chen left behind. The petals that filled the air quickly poured into the wound on Morongchong's chest. Dang, dang, dang. Morongchong brought out his state of wind to its limits. Saber lights flickered and chopped the petals flying at him into nothing. Only less than 10 petals flew in. Xiaochen frowned. Only 10 petals flew in. Given this, the might of Wuxia supporting the heavens would be significantly weakened. The tree supporting the heavens would not be able to grow. However, the arrow had to be fired. If Xiaochen hesitated and Morongchong forced out these 9 petals, everything would be for naught. Xiaochen shouted. Wuxia supporting the heavens explode. The churning thunderclouds above immediately gave off a loud sound. The instant the thunder roared, an explosion came from Morongchong's chest. The wound on Morongchong's chest suddenly exploded. His body was flung to the ground by the shockwave. How can this be? Morongchong was actually blasted away. From the start of the duel until now, not only did Xiaochen, who was not favored by the crowd, not crumble, he had also persisted for a long time. Xiaochen had persisted for such a long time, and did not fall into too much of a disadvantage. Now he even blasted Morongchong into the air. This was too unexpected. Wuxia shakes the heavens. Xiaochen's aura flourished. Taking advantage of Morongchong's weakened momentum, he leaped into the air and executed the other killing move of the Wuxia saber technique. The divine Wuxia tree descended from the air. It was like a mountain pressing down on Morongchong, who was on the ground. However, just at this moment, layers of white clouds appeared in the sky. They occupied half the sky, reducing the thunderclouds formed by Xiaochen's state of thunder by half. Chapter 296. The state of thunder contained in the Wuxia shakes the heavens immediately weakened. Its might weakened significantly. When Morongchong, who was on the ground, saw the Wuxia tree and Xiaochen descend from the sky, he revealed a cold and emotionless smile. Xiaochen was startled. He thought to himself, oh no! Morongchong actually cultivated 2 states, wind and cloud merging, the clouds borrowing the might of the wind. Xiaochen's state of thunder was completely suppressed. Morongchong slowly stood up from the ground. A purple bolt of lightning appeared above the clouds, tearing through the dark arena. Hoo! A gust of wind suddenly rose, and with a swoosh the lightning fused with it, forming a terrifying purple tornado. Morongchong pointed his saber, and the purple tornado immediately headed for Xiaochen and the divine Wuxia tree. Bang! 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 The berserk purple tornado merged the energy of wind and lightning. It had the attribute of lightning and the berserk of wind. Its might was equal to a superior Great Earth-ranked martial technique. When the tornado struck the Wuxia tree, the 2 martial techniques that contained electricity radiated horrifying electricity. Silver snakes danced in the air, and the air was filled with electricity the size of small snakes. Morongchong struck the Wuxia tree a total of 5 times. Every time he struck, there would be a loud crackling sound. The color of Xiaochen's divine Wuxia tree dimmed significantly. After the 5th strike, the divine Wuxia tree that Xiaochen materialized completely disappeared. Without the obstruction of the Wuxia tree, the horrifying purple tornado headed for Xiaochen with a berserk aura. Retreat! With the state of thunder suppressed, Xiaochen did not dare to clash head-on. He could only dodge first and activate the windwalk shoes. His speed reached the speed of sound as he retreated. Hoochie! Morongchong's figure suddenly appeared beside the purple tornado. He moved erratically. He had the berserk nature of the wind and the ethereal nature of the clouds. When the 2 were combined, it was hard to catch him. Dang! A saber light hacked at Xiaochen from a strange angle. Xiaochen swung his saber to block. A berserk energy came from above and immediately shattered the state of thunder contained in the saber technique. Retreat again. Using this energy, Xiaochen retreated again. His right hand, which held his saber, felt numb. He nearly lost his grip on his saber. As Xiaochen retreated continuously, the thunderclouds in the sky were suppressed by his opponent's state of wind and cloud. Morongchong's aura flourished, turning the situation around in an instant. Give up. Although your state of thunder is pure, it has no chance against my state of wind. Morongchong's voice rang out in the air, following Morongchong's erratic figure. It came from all directions, making it hard to tell where it came from. His voice lingered in the wind for a long time. Morongchong is indeed Morongchong. He actually hid himself so deeply. Aside from the great perfection state of wind, he also has the great perfection state of cloud. Most importantly, he merged them so perfectly. He truly lives up to his reputation as the top ranker of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's wind cloud list. Yi Chen's state of thunder state. Yi Chen's state thunder state is Yi has Chun. Chun Chen's heaven has. Looks like Morongchong's undefeatable legend will continue for a while. Among the younger generation, at least in the Shiha province, there is no one who can defeat him. In the entire Great Qin nation, he can be ranked in the top 3. The situation was clear. Morongchong, who had executed his state of cloud, had completely turned the situation around. The advantage that Xiao Chun had just gained was gone. He could only passively be suppressed. Everyone believed that when Xiao Chen's state of thunder was compressed to the point where it completely disappeared, it would be the moment of his defeat. A desolate expression flashed on Lu Ruyue's face. She was no longer worried about whether Xiao Chen could protect Qingyan Peak or not. She only hoped that he could survive. Furthermore, she did not want him to lose the sharpness of a cultivator, especially the sharpness of a bladesman. This was what she was most worried about. Even in such a situation, Xiao Chen's heart was still very calm. It was like there was a strange feeling in his heart. The surrounding discussions and Morongchong's words did not affect him at all. Xiao Chen's mind was very clear. He continued to think of a way to break out of this situation. The reason why he was in such a passive state was undoubtedly because his state was suppressed. This was the first time he encountered such a situation. Although he knew that states were important, he did not expect them to be this important. Without the support of a strong state, the Wuxia shakes the heavens could not even compare to his opponent's purple tornado. At this moment, even if Xiao Chen executed the sure-kill martial technique of the Wuxia saber technique, it would be hard for him to achieve the might he expected. Without the support of a state, it would be hard for him to advance. In the past 7 days, Xiao Chen had put the cart before the horse. He should not have spent too much time practicing new martial techniques. Instead, he should have strengthened his own state. Xiao Chen's state was not strong by itself. However, because he cultivated the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation, his state was much purer than a regular cultivator's. His peak small perfection state could suppress his opponent's great perfection state. From the start of the duel, Xiao Chen was able to hold his own against Morongchong, whose cultivation was much higher than his. This was mainly because of this. However, it was not too late to realize this. Even if he lost today, he had already gained a lot. His future would be much clearer. Bang! Bang! While Xiao Chen was thinking, his hands did not stop moving. He extended his spiritual sense and did his best to capture the erratic Morongchong's figure, blocking all the saber techniques he sent at him. In the sky, Xiao Chen's state of thunder had already been pushed to the final step. Only a patch of thunderclouds remained bitterly holding on. The surroundings were filled with churning white clouds infused with the state of wind. The white clouds churned boundlessly, raising Morongchong's aura to its peak. Morongchong looked at Xiao Chen, who had already retreated to a corner. He said indifferently, "Let's end this." 3 moves of wind and cloud, chasing clouds and chasing lightning. Morongchong roared ferociously. The horrifying purple tornado turned into a flood dragon about 100 meters long. The dense dragon scales on the body of the flood dragon were clearly visible. It was like a real flood dragon. White clouds floated around the flood dragon. With a schwa sound, it emerged from the clouds. It opened its mouth and spat out a strand of azure smoke. Then it roared at Xiao Chen. The berserk flood dragon's speed had already surpassed the speed of sound. It was very close to Mach 2. It did not give Xiao Chen any time to think before it arrived before him. When the people in the arena saw the roaring flood dragon flying at Xiao Chen, they all sucked in a breath of cold air. Lu Ruyue could not help but stand up from her seat. She opened her mouth, wanting to say something. Bang! 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 The instant the flood dragon swallowed up Xiao Chen, there was an intense explosion. A blue dragon circled around Xiao Chen's right arm. Although the blue dragon was small, it was the martial spirit of an ancient holy beast. It was the real deal. No matter how realistic the small flood dragon was, it was just a fake dragon. How could it be a match for a real dragon? The blue dragon immediately broke it apart and exploded into a shockwave. After the blue dragon broke apart the chasing clouds and chasing lightning, it had not used up all the energy it contained. It opened its mouth and let out a resounding dragon roar. The might of a holy beast spread throughout the entire arena. All the cultivators in the spectator stands felt their hearts tremble. This dragon roar actually contained the might of a holy emperor. Murongchong frowned and condensed a berserk wind wall to block in front of him. He wanted to block this attack. The blue dragon martial spirit hidden in the 300-odd acupoints of his body was Xiao Chen's true trump card. However, Xiao Chen would not use this trump card unless he had no other choice. The blue dragon martial spirit had disappeared for 1,000 years. It was a mysterious existence. If the identity of the blue dragon martial spirit was made known, it might cause some unnecessary waves. However, Murongchong's earlier move was too dangerous. Xiao Chen, whose state was suppressed, had no other way to block or dodge. There was no other way to block it, nor was there any way to avoid it. He could only take out this trump card. Otherwise, he might die from this move. In the sky, the surging white clouds that had been suppressing Xiao Chen's state of thunder unexpectedly started to shrink back. The holy might contained in the dragon roar actually forced back Murongchong's state. Bang! 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 The blue dragon broke through the wind wall that Murongchong laid, and gave off a piercing screech. Seeing that the wind wall could not block the blue dragon, Murongchong made a prompt decision and quickly retreated. Murongchong's figure flickered in the air. With every step he took, he laid down a wall of wind. The blue dragon seemed to have a life of its own as it chased after him, not letting up. The blue dragon chased for more than a kilometer before it ran out of energy and turned into nothingness, disappearing into the air. The azure dragon actually contains a holy might. What is going on? Could it be that his martial spirit is also inherited from the ancient era? After Murongchong landed, he finally heaved a sigh of relief. However, he was filled with doubts. Rumble. Just at this moment, the muffled thunder that had lingered in the arena for a long time resounded again. Xiao Chen's state of thunder reached its peak once again. Murongchong's expression changed. He saw that the originally small patch of thunderclouds in the sky was now standing on equal footing with his white clouds. They each stood on one side of the arena, not giving way at all. This was the final decisive moment. Xiao Chen did not want to give his opponent another chance to force back his state. Wuxia breaks the heavens. Xiao Chen shouted and a loud clap of thunder resounded. The ancient divine Wuxia tree above Xiao Chen's head grew rapidly as the thunder roared. The instant the divine Wuxia tree finished growing, a resplendent saber pillar soared up from the saber. It soared into the sky and quickly elongated. It was like it was going to break the sky and shatter the ground. Damn it! Murongchong's expression turned sullen. He had not expected Xiao Chen to turn the situation where he was bound to lose into such a draw. However, there was no time for Murongchong to think. That resplendent pillar of light contained the horrifying state of thunder quickly headed for him. 3 moves of wind and cloud, parting clouds revealing the sky. Murongchong roared ferociously. His long hair and clothes fluttered, and a strong wind blew around him. The white clouds in the sky drifted. A resplendent pillar of light lit up on the saber as well. It carried the state of wind and cloud as it clashed with Xiao Chen's Wuxia breaks the heavens. 2 pillars of light, one white and one purple, quickly pulled apart. After a while, they crashed into each other. Bang! When the 2 pillars of light clashed, a huge whirlpool of primal chaos appeared on the ground. It immediately blasted a large hole in the ground. A large amount of dust flew into the air from the hole. A visible shockwave spread out in all directions, blowing away all the dust on the arena. Chapter 297. The ground of the entire arena cracked. Countless huge chunks of mud flew through the air, kicking up a cloud of dust. The ground was shaved off by more than 10 meters. It was clear how horrifying the might of these 2 moves was. Seeing the shockwave coming at him, Xiao Chen shouted and stabbed out with his saber. He immediately broke through the surging shockwave. His spiritual sense locked onto Murongchong's figure, and he quickly rushed over. The huge rocks and mud in front of him were all chopped apart by his saber. They could not stop Xiao Chen at all. Morong Chang's expression turned sullen. He sent out a few strands of vigorous saber chi, shattering the shockwave and rocks. Then he sensed Xiao Chen's figure in the wind. Morong Chang snorted coldly and pushed off the ground heavily, leaping over. Xiao! Amidst the dust and howling wind, the two of them saw each other at the same time. They leaped into the air and their killing chi clashed in the air. They did not hesitate to attack. Dang! 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 The entire arena was filled with lingering electricity and wind and clouds. There were also huge chunks of mud flying in the air and dust covering the sky. It was very chaotic. All the spectators on the heaven ascending platform stood up and used their vision, trying to see the situation below the arena clearly. Why can't I see anything? What happened to the two of them? I can only hear their voices. I can see a little more clearly. However, the two of them are too fast. I can only see two blurry figures. There is too much dust. Furthermore, the electricity and strong wind are interfering with my vision. However, the two of them are fighting very intensely. They are going crazy. Even though they used their vision, there were still many cultivators with insufficient cultivation, who could not see the situation clearly. Only a small portion of the core disciples with deep cultivations could vaguely make out the two's figures. However, they could not completely understand. Aside from the people from the Elders' Assembly, only Lu Ruyue could see the situation clearly. Sis, what's the situation? Lu Suifeng asked anxiously beside Lu Ruyue. Lu Ruyue had a complicated expression. Her normally resolute eyes were now filled with pain and conflict. She said in a trembling voice, "They are crazy. How could it be like this?" Dust flew everywhere, lightning flashed, and strong winds howled in the arena. Morong Chong and Xiao Chen were covered in blood. Not a single part of their clothes was intact. The two of them moved around on the ground. Their speeds were similar. It was very difficult to dodge each other's attacks and injure each other. Basically, if you injure me, I can immediately stab you back. At this moment, both of them were in a killing frenzy. They did not care about the wounds on their bodies as they circulated their vital energy to the extreme. You are more ruthless than me. I am more ruthless than you. It all depends on who can last longer. Both sides had their own advantages. Xiao Chen's advantage was his strong physical body. His physical endurance was stronger than Morong Chang's. Morong Chang. Xiao Chen of Xiao Chen's was his cultivation. Mirov Chen of energy. Chi. Of Chen then of them. Of them of they of them. Of. Is. Pusii. A bolt of lightning descended and turned a flying piece of mud into dust. Xiao Chen's saber strike infused with the state of thunder clashed with Morong Chang's saber strike infused with the state of strong wind and cloud. When the sabers clashed, there was a piercing metallic sound in the air. When the two states clashed, an intense shockwave burst forth. All the dust within 100 meters was instantly cleared. The two of them each retreated 100 meters. Blood dripped from the snow-white sabers. Dita. Dita. Morong Chang said coldly, determine victory with one saber strike. Sure. Xiao Chen replied indifferently as he tightened his grip on the saber hilt. The blood on the saber hilt was connected to his palm. It was like the saber was a part of his flesh. After fighting for so long, the two of them understood that if this continued, there would be no result. Determining victory with one move was the best way to resolve this stalemate. Right after Morong Chang spoke, a strong wind immediately gathered behind him. In an instant, all the dust, dirt, and electricity scattered in all directions were expelled. Only the purest state of wind remained. Clouds churned in the sky, moving continuously and quickly. The sky changed color as the wind blew and the clouds churned. Morong Chang's aura soared rapidly. The state of kingship emanated from his body. Even though there was only a trace of this king's will, it was filled with an unparalleled might, and it spread to the surrounding spectator stands. Everyone could feel this king's aura, and they felt a faint desire to worship it. Xiao Chen was mildly startled. Morong Chang had actually skipped the comprehension of states, and touched upon something above states. Furthermore, it was an extremely high-grade will of kingship. Since you are suppressing me with the might of a king, I will use the might of a deity to suppress you, Xiaochen thought to himself with a calm expression. The thunderclouds in the sky started to gather continuously. Finally, they formed a huge whirlpool of thunderclouds. The whirlpool was 300 meters tall. Every time the whirlpool spun, there would be a boundless amount of lightning-attributed spiritual energy infused into it. Bolts of lightning tore through the sky and hovered above the arena. A supreme divine might spread out from it. Dong, 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 dong. The roars of a huge army came from the whirlpool. When these sounds merged together, they formed a resplendent electric light. A knight flickering with golden electricity appeared from the whirlpool, holding a golden spear in his hand. This was the modified rushing thunder roar. It merged all the lightning knights together, and infused a trace of the might of a deity into it, forming a true single-target martial technique. The golden spear pointed at Murongchong, who was on the ground. A thunder god's might spread out, heading for Murongchong, whose state of kingship had reached its peak. The two formless auras clashed in the air. They intertwined, creating ripples in the air. Rushing thunder roar. All-powerful. The two of them shouted at the same time. The golden lightning knight lowered its spear and rode on a golden warhorse that chased after the clouds and lightning. It carried a trace of divine might as it pierced through space, heading for Murongchong. The strong wind behind Murongchong stopped, and the clouds above him stopped churning. The world was silent. Only the all-powerful saber strike that could break through the 9 heavens flew out. The resplendent saber light soared into the sky, colliding fiercely with the golden lightning knight. It was a saber chi that contained the will of a king. It was an indomitable aura that looked down on the world, causing even the world to be moved. However, Xiaochen's golden lightning knight contained the might of a deity. This strand of the might of a deity was something that Xiaochen imitated from the divine might left by the sages in the silver warship. Although it was not the true divine might, it could easily defeat the trace of the will of a king that Murongchong had just comprehended. How could a king among men defeat a divine sovereign? Unless Murongchong comprehended the will of a divine sovereign, there was no chance of victory. The golden lightning knight brandished its spear and dazzling golden lightning gathered behind it. It gathered into a spear light that shot out in all directions and clashed violently with Murongchong's saber chi containing the will of a king. Bang! 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 The air suddenly exploded as the two wills clashed fiercely in the air. Intense explosions rang out, and in the calm air, it was like waves had exploded, causing the entire space to become blurry. Xiao! The golden knight's spear pierced through Murongchong's saber chi with a schwa sound. Then he rode on his golden warhorse and descended from the sky, leaving behind a golden beam of light. Murongchong's grave and stern face appeared slightly distracted. Just as the tip of the spear was about to press against his chest, he spun his saber and blocked the tip of the golden spear with its thin blade. Boom! Under Xiaochen's control, the knight exploded. The horrifying force gathered at the tip of the spear, causing Murongchong to vomit a mouthful of blood and fly back. Xiaochen felt dizzy. Aside from exhausting a large amount of essence, this move also exhausted the source of his spiritual sense. Simulating a divine might had nearly exhausted his spiritual sense. Xiaochen pressed the tip of his tongue against his teeth and bit down hard. There was an intense pain, and the dizziness in his head improved slightly. Xiaochen pushed off the ground and leaped into the air. Then he stabbed his saber at Murongchong's chest. Murongchong fell from the air. Aside from being injured by the lightning, his mind was also suppressed by the divine might. He had lost all ability to resist. Xiaochen flicked his wrist and deflected the saber that was originally aimed at Murongchong's heart by 5 centimeters. Murongchong fell from the air. The pain in his chest allowed him to recover his mind. At this moment, his hair was messy and the blood at the corner of his lips had not been wiped clean. There were wounds all over his body. The two of them had exhausted their states. The wind no longer howled, the clouds no longer churned, the lightning disappeared, and the dust settled. At this moment it was very quiet. Only the sound of their blood dripping to the ground could be heard. Murongchong was actually defeated by Xiaochen. How can this be? The piercing sunlight shone down from the 9 heavens. When the spectators saw the scene in the arena, They were all incomparably astonished. Xiao Chen, whom no one thought highly of, actually defeated the top ranker of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's wind cloud list, Murong Chong. Seeing the expressionless Xiao Chen, who was not much better off, Murong Chong revealed a bitter smile on his stern face. He muttered, "Why did you not kill me? I do not have any grudges with you. You also saved my life once. We are even," Xiao Chen said calmly. Suddenly, anger appeared on Murong Chong's stern face. He said, "Your heart is not with Qingyan Peak. Why did you snatch my things?" Xiao Chen's expression was calm. There were no fluctuations. He said indifferently, "Are you sure that is yours? The things in this world are not yours just because you think they are. Only when you obtain them can you be considered to have them." Kasie. After he spoke, Xiao Chen withdrew his saber and sheathed it. Blood immediately spurted out of Murong Chong's chest. His body swayed as he fell over. Finally, he knelt on one knee and stabbed his saber into the ground, doing his best to maintain his balance. Murong Chong has failed the challenge. The position of Qingyan Peak's peak master will not change. After Murong Chong fell over, the old man from earlier reappeared and announced the result. The moment the old man spoke, a group of Jade Maiden Peak disciples immediately came out and carried Xiao Chen and Murong Chong away, helping them to treat their injuries. The dense crowd of spectators discussed this matter. There were several people who could not accept the result. They did not dare believe that Murong Chong would be defeated. Chapter 298. In the distance, Mu Chen and Zhang Lai looked at the defeated Murong Chong. Their eyes were filled with desolation. Zhang Lai smiled bitterly. "I originally thought that after a month of hard work, I would be able to catch up to him. Who knew? I would be getting further and further away from him. Now even Murong Chong is not a match for him." Mu Chen got up and smiled faintly. "Don't overthink this. His potential is different from ours. His future accomplishments will be different as well. However, with such a person as our target, we will be able to raise our strength much faster." "That's right, the higher his talent, the more pressure we will face. As long as I don't slack off and lose confidence, my strength will improve much faster than before." The desolation in Zhang Lai's eyes disappeared in an instant. Replacing it was an incomparably resolute expression filled with confidence. If you set a person with 100 points of potential and a person with 50 points as your target, the final result would be very different. Hence, the two of them were very glad that their opponent, Xiao Chen, was the person with 100 points of potential. Lu Ruyue looked at the two people being carried away by the Jade Maiden Peak disciples for treatment. She revealed a faint smile on her charming face. This might be the best ending. 3 days later, in an independent courtyard on Jade Maiden Peak, Xiao Chen lay quietly on a reclining chair in the courtyard. There was an incense burner on the stone table beside him. Smoke curled up into the air, and a faint medicinal fragrance wafted through the courtyard. It was refreshing and comfortable. One's body could not help but relax. The injuries Xiao Chen suffered in his fight with Murong Chong were more severe than Xiao Chen had imagined. Those saber wounds contain the state of wind and the state of cloud. This made it very difficult for them to heal. Furthermore, some of his meridians were injured. The most serious was the internal injuries from the clash of the mysterious phenomena. At that time, Xiao Chen and Lu Ruyue suppressed their internal injuries. After the fight ended, they erupted 100-fold. With the internal and external injuries, it would have been impossible for Xiao Chen to recover completely without a month. However, in Jade Maiden Peak he received the best care. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion elders generously provided him with all sorts of spirit pills and miraculous medicines. There was even a Jade Maiden Peak elder, who possessed a self-healing martial spirit. She personally circulated her energy and helped Xiao Chen clear his meridians and nourish his internal organs. In just 3 days his injuries would be mostly healed, and in another 4 days his body would be able to completely recover to its peak state. All of this was because of the strength that Xiao Chen displayed. He had attracted the attention of the upper echelons of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Although Xiao Chen was strong in the past, he was only a medial grade martial saint. There were many people in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion who reached medial grade martial saint at his age. there would be even more in the Great Qin Empire. However, the combat prowess that Xiao Chen displayed and the horrifying state of thunder made everyone look at him in a new light. He was not a simple medial-grade martial saint. Any sect would take good care of their own geniuses, and all kinds of advantageous resources would be tilted towards their geniuses. Naturally, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion was no exception. It was not strange that they took such care of Xiao Chen. As Xiao Chen slept on the recliner, he looked at the clear sky above him and breathed in the fragrant air. His body and mind felt more comfortable. This was actually a special treatment method of Jade Maiden Peak. The recliner was not made of ordinary wood. Instead, it was made of 1,000-year-old spiritual wood. In other words, if one took this recliner and tore it into pieces, they could sell it for 1,000 medial-grade spirit stones. As long as a person laid on it, the 1,000-year-old spiritual energy contained in it would automatically seep through the skin and into the flesh, bones, and marrow, circulating and nourishing the various organs of the cultivator. Furthermore, the incense and powder in the incense burner were made from spirit herbs picked from Jade Maiden Peak. According to Xiao Chen's request, it was used to replenish the source of his spiritual sense. Such a relaxed treatment method caused Xiao Chen to feel an unprecedented peace. Since he arrived at Qingyan Peak, he had not been able to relax for even a moment. Now he was completely at peace. For the past 3 days, Xiao Chen did not think or do anything. He just lay there quietly. He discovered that his mental state had improved by another step. Haha. Little brother Yichen, are you resting? Just as Xiao Chen was deep in thought with his eyes closed, a drawn-out laughter came from outside the courtyard. Xiao Chen quickly opened his eyes and stood up to greet Elder Tang. Elder Tang was a member of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's Elders Assembly. His cultivation had already reached peak Martial King. Furthermore, his potential had not been exhausted yet. Once he reached the right opportunity, he could advance to Martial Monarch at any time. He could be said to be a true peak expert. Even 100 Xiao Chen would not be a match for him. There were only 9 elders in the entire Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Without the Pavilion Master, the authority of these elders was astonishing. All the important decisions of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion had to go through the approval of the Elders' Assembly before they could be made. On the first day Xiao Chen was injured, Elder Tang came to look for Xiao Chen. However, his purpose in looking for Xiao Chen made things difficult for him. The other party was interested in Xiao Chen's talent and promised him all sorts of benefits. He wanted to take Xiao Chen in as a disciple. Xiao Chen had already tactfully rejected him once. This time his purpose should be the same. When Elder Tang saw Xiao Chen stand up, he waved his hand and used a gentle force to get Xiao Chen to lie back down. He chuckled and said, "Little brother Yi Chun, you are injured, there is no need to be so polite. How is it? Have you considered the matter that I mentioned to you back then?" When Xiao Chen heard this, he smiled bitterly in his heart. It looked like his tactful rejection back then was taken as consideration by the other party. Otherwise, the other party might be feigning ignorance. Without waiting for Xiao Chen to reply, Elder Tang continued, "Actually, you should really consider this seriously. For so many years, I have not taken in a personal disciple. Once you become my disciple, and I become a supreme elder in the future, I will not accept you. My position as an elder will be yours. The cultivation resources that an elder can enjoy are much more than you can imagine. There are medial-grade spirit stones, medicinal pills, and all sorts of secret techniques. There are also some martial techniques that the Heavenly Saber Pavilion does not teach to outsiders. You can learn them all." Xiao Chen replied. Elder Tang interrupted him and continued, "I already know about the assassination attempt on your way back to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Furthermore, I warned Song Quebec. He will not dare to make a move against you again. The most important thing is that if you become an elder in the future, you can challenge Song Ke to a duel. Even if you accidentally kill him in the duel, there will not be any problems. This is the privilege of an elder. What do you think? This should be able to move you, right? I know what you are worried about. As long as you say the word, I can help you settle things with Lu Ruyue." Elder Tang spoke tirelessly, promising a lot of benefits. If Xiao Chen said he was not tempted, it would be a lie. However, these conditions were unable to move him. Xiao said calmly. I'm sorry, Elder Tang. I am unable to agree. Haha, Ninth Elder is here to poach my disciple again? Just as Elder Tang was about to continue speaking, melodious laughter resounded in the courtyard. It was Lu Ruyue walking over leisurely. When Elder Tang saw Lu Ruyue, he could not help but feel embarrassed. No matter what, he was a senior. He had gone to poach a disciple of the younger generation, and was even caught red-handed. He would feel embarrassed. Haha, little Ruyue must be joking. Why would I poach your disciple? I am only here to visit little friend Yichen. I will take my leave first. If little brother Yi has any difficulties in the future, you can come and look for me. Seeing that Lu Ruyue had arrived, Elder Tang laughed it off and immediately left. Xiao immediately felt very relaxed. He looked at Lu Ruyue and smiled. Fortunately you came. Otherwise it would be difficult for me to advance or retreat. Lu Ruyue sighed in her heart. When she thought of her first meeting with Xiao, she still found it funny. However, she had not misjudged him. He was someone who could restore Qingyan Peak's might. Lu Ruyue did not have any other purpose for coming here. She only wanted to visit Xiao and see how his injuries were. At the same time, she wanted to chat with him to relieve his boredom. The two of them chatted for a long time in the courtyard. Most of their topics were about their understanding of the martial way. Now that their strengths were about the same, the master-disciple relationship was already very thin. It was more of a master-disciple relationship. The sky gradually turned dark. When dusk arrived, they stopped talking and Lu Ruyue took her leave. The next few days were rather peaceful. The people that Xiao knew, Mu Chen, Zhang Lai, Lu Suifeng, and Chu Xinyun, all came to visit him. This made him feel a trace of warmth in his heart. On a night after 3 days, Xiao injuries had completely recovered. He had returned to his peak state. Furthermore, after the big battle with Morongchong and a week of rest, Xiao felt that although his cultivation did not improve by much, his combat prowess had increased significantly. This was the benefit of a true big battle. A genius would not have a good opponent. Without intense battles, they would never improve by leaps and bounds. Only in a big battle could one find their own weaknesses and inadequacies. Then they could cultivate and make up for these weaknesses. Finally, they could use a big battle to test if their thoughts were correct or not. Such a virtuous cycle would allow one's strength to increase rapidly and steadily, truly reaching the peak. Thus, cultivators had to continuously set goals for themselves. Sha, sha. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps entered Xiao ears in the dark night. Xiao expression changed slightly. His figure flashed, and he immediately arrived in the courtyard. When Xiao saw who it was, he revealed an astonished expression. Morongchong. Morongchong was dressed in black with a saber hanging at his waist. He slowly walked over to Xiao in the dark night. Xiao expression returned to normal. He asked suspiciously, "What are you doing here? Do you want to fight with me again?" Morongchong's grave and stern face did not reveal any expression. He said indifferently, "There is no need for now. You are right. There are some things that you cannot have unless you possess them. In the past, I was too stubborn. Now that I have thought things through, I have decided to leave this place." Xiao was not surprised by Morongchong's words. With his cultivation realm and cultivation, he had already reached a bottleneck in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. With his potential, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion would not be able to keep him. Leaving was just a matter of time. Xiao let down his guard and his expression eased up. He asked, "Where are you preparing to go?" Chapter 299. Honestly speaking, Xiao did not have any enmity towards Morongchong. Although this person was not on good terms with him, he was decisive and straightforward. Xiao admired such a character. "I don't know, let's leave the Great Qin Nation first." In the Tianmu continent, aside from the Great Jin Nation, the Great Qin Nation is the weakest among the other 4 nations. If we limit our vision to the Great Qin Nation, we will not be able to improve in the future. We have to go out. Leave the Great Qin Nation? Xiao thought so as well. After Emperor Wu's nation was destroyed, the spirit veins in the continent were in chaos. Aside from the Great Jin Nation, The density of spiritual energy in the other four nations could not be compared to Emperor Wu's nation. It was even more incomparable to the ancient era. The sparseness of spiritual energy would cause a cultivator's cultivation speed to decrease. Even with the same talent, cultivating in a different environment would result in a world of difference in strength. Furthermore, among the four nations, the Great Qin nation had the sparsest spiritual energy. This was also the reason why the Great Qin nation only had 3 great sections. It was because there were too few good spirit veins. Sooner or later, Xiaochen would have to leave as well. This world was so exciting and vast. If he did not go out and explore it, he would have many regrets in his life. It was said that outside the Tianwu continent, on the other side of the boundless sea, there were countless islands. Each island was the size of a nation. Furthermore, the spirit veins there were deep in the sea. They had not been broken since the ancient era. One could imagine how horrifying the geniuses there were. However, Xiaochen still had many things to do in the Great Qin nation. He could not leave for now. At the very least, he had to comprehend listening to the sword and communicating with it before he could leave. Morongcheng said indifferently, "Don't think that just because you defeated me in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, you are the strongest in the younger generation of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion." Could it be that Morongcheng is not the true #1 expert? Xiaochen asked doubtfully. What do you mean? Morongcheng said, "Since ancient times, the true experts of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion have always been in the Divine Saber Camp. Only by joining the Divine Saber Camp will the Heavenly Saber Pavilion pass down the true secret techniques to you." Xiaochen had seen the strength of the Divine Saber Camp with his own eyes. Just one look from the other party was enough to make him tremble. The martial technique of killing was indeed horrifying. However, this was also because Xiaochen had not comprehended a state at that time. If the current Xiaochen were to face the experts of the Divine Saber Camp, even if he could not defeat them, he would not lose in terms of aura. Then why did you not join the Divine Saber Camp? With your talent, they should have already sent you an invitation, Xiaochen said. Morongcheng's expression did not change. He said leisurely, 2 years ago, I received an invitation. However, I rejected it. You will understand the reason for my rejection when you receive the invitation. Aside from the people of the Divine Saber Camp, there is only one person worth paying attention to in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Xiaochen's interest was piqued and he asked, Who? Leng Liusu. Morongcheng replied indifferently, the daughter of the previous pavilion master of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, Leng Liusu. There is a secret realm in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. There is the spirit veins origin of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Only the descendants of the Saber Emperor can cultivate there after they advance to Martial Saint. Half a year ago, Leng Liusu already advanced to Martial Saint. Her talent is no weaker than ours. Furthermore, she has the bloodline of the Saber Emperor. Furthermore, with the help of the spirit veins origin, when she comes out, she will shock the entire Great Qin nation. Spirit veins origin of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's secret realm. When Xiaochen heard this, his heart skipped a beat. He thought of the strange space he encountered in the underground world. There was also the prayer mat in the tree hole. The secret realm that Morongcheng mentioned might be that place. Back then he could not sit on it. So aside from his insufficient cultivation, he also needed the bloodline of the Saber Emperor. At this moment, Xiaochen finally understood. The spirit veins origin was something that even the fiend race martial emperors wanted. It was easy to imagine how much faster one's cultivation speed would be if they could cultivate there. Goodbye. Although I know you will have to leave sooner or later, before that, please spread the name of Qingyan Peak. Morongcheng performed a cupped fist salute and said, I hope we will meet again in the future. Right after he spoke, Morongcheng's figure flashed in the dark night. He quickly merged into the darkness and disappeared from Xiaochen's vision. The corner of Xiaochen's mouth curled up in an arc. He smiled faintly and said, What an interesting person. After saying so much, the last sentence is probably the main point. You clearly can't let it go. So why are you pretending to be carefree? In the past 7 days, Xiaochen had heard that Morongcheng's 3-wind cloud style was created by him. Xiaochen gained a deeper understanding of Morongcheng's strength. Morongcheng was not even 20 years old. Yet he was able to combine his state and create his own martial technique. There were probably not many people with such talent since ancient times. Furthermore, Murongchong gave Xiaochen the feeling that this three-wind cloud style was not truly perfected yet. There should be at least 5 more moves after rebuking the wind and clouds. By the time Murongchong perfected the remaining moves, it would be very difficult for Xiaochen to defeat him again. In the future, even if Murongchong did not truly reach the peak of the martial Tao, his name would be passed down to the future generations with this wind cloud saber technique. No matter what, Murongchong was one of the true bladesmen that Yun Kursen spoke of in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. When the sky brightened, Xiaochen greeted the people of Jade Maiden Peak. Then he immediately left Jade Maiden Peak and rushed to Qingyan Peak. When Xiaochen returned to the familiar Qingyan Peak, there were still very few people. Along the way, Xiaochen thought of Murongchong's words. He sighed, there are indeed too few people in Qingyan Peak. Before he left, he had to do his best to help Qingyan Peak regain its former illustrious reputation. Before Xiaochen walked far, he saw a familiar white figure. It was by running towards him quickly. Behind it, Lu Ruyue, Lu Suifeng, and the Xiao siblings also slowly came down. Xiaochen smiled faintly and carried by in his embrace. Then he walked over to Lu Ruyue and the others. Xiaoming laughed and said, Bai is still the best. We knew you were coming from afar. We did not know you would recover today. Lu Ruyue's complexion was getting better by the day. When Xiaochen saw her again, she had already recovered her former graceful bearing. After suffering such a setback, when her injuries recovered, it would be her opportunity to become a martial king. Are your injuries completely healed? Lu Ruyue asked softly. Xiaochen nodded gently. When Lu Suifeng saw the situation, he laughed loudly. Come Yi Chun, let's go drink. Xiao Yang and Xiaoming, let's go as well. Let's formally celebrate your defeat of Murongchong. When Xiaochen heard the word drink, Bai immediately became restless in Xiaochen's embrace. She cried out continuously, indicating that she wanted to go as well. This caused everyone to laugh loudly. When Xiaochen saw the smiles on everyone's faces, he felt a warmth in his heart. Although there were not many people in Qingyan Peak, it was impossible for the other peaks to have such a harmonious relationship. Even if he left Qingyan Peak in the future, he would remember the time he spent with everyone here. He would never forget it for the rest of his life. Very well, I will drink to my heart's content today. Xiaochen collected his thoughts and smiled faintly. On a desolate peak in the Lingyun mountain range, Xiaochen sat cross-legged on a rock. Boundless thunderclouds churned in the sky above him. After everyone got drunk that day, Xiaochen started to cultivate bitterly the next day. During his fight with Murongchong, he realized that his state was insufficient. If the might of his state was insufficient, he would fall from grace and become an ordinary martial saint. The might of all his moves would decrease. Thus, for the past half a month, he had been thinking of ways to strengthen his state, trying to make up for his shortcomings. Because he cultivated the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation, Xiaochen's state of thunder was much purer than a regular cultivator's state. Needless to say, its might was much stronger. Similarly, a small perfection state was nothing in front of Xiaochen's state of thunder. He could easily suppress it. This was also why he could use his small perfection state to contend against Murongchong's great perfection state. All of this was because of the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation, which was comparable to a heaven-ranked cultivation technique. Similarly, it also made it harder for Xiaochen to advance his state to great perfection. At first, he had to raise the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation to the 5th layer before he could break through. As long as he succeeded in breaking through, his great perfection state of thunder would be comparable to the peak great perfection state of others. This was the benefit of having a large base. Since he could not break through to great perfection state for now, Xiaochen had to think of other methods. Back when he fought with Murongchong, the holy might of the Blue Dragon martial spirit immediately suppressed his opponent's state of wind and cloud. This gave Xiaochen a lot of inspiration. If he infused the holy might into his state, then even if he did not break through to great perfection, its might would increase significantly. This was a good idea, but it was very difficult to execute. After working hard for half a month, the holy might of the Blue Dragon martial spirit could not be infused. Holy might could be considered an aura of an ancient holy beast. Just like how humans had auras, an ancient holy beast definitely had its own unique aura. Although Xiao Chen's control over his own aura had not reached the level of some powerhouses, who could turn their aura into a sharp saber with just a sharp look, it was not difficult to infuse it into saber techniques. However, it was not difficult to infuse it into saber techniques as he pleased. However, it was somewhat difficult to control the aura of the blue dragon martial spirit. In the past, before the martial spirit shattered, it was easier to do. He could just move it from the dantian. Now that the martial spirit was shattered, it resided in more than 300 acupoints in his body. He had only opened 13 of the 18 acupoints on his right arm. If he could truly use the aura of these 13 strands of dragon qi together, it would be simple to attack someone. He could just blast it out and there would be no need to worry about it. The problem was how to refine the dragon qi into the aura of the blue dragon, and then infuse it into the state. Raising his head to look at the thunderclouds above, Xiao Chen slowly stretched out his right hand. With a thought, the Fengyan acupoint on his palm immediately exploded open. A strand of azure-colored dragon qi floated out. The Laogong acupoint opened. The Daling acupoint opened. The Neguan acupoint opened. Strands of azure-colored dragon qi flowed out. All 13 acupoints on Xiao Chen's right arm opened. Finally, all the dragon qi merged and formed a 10-meter-long blue dragon coiled around Xiao Chen's right arm. The dragon's body was covered in dragon scales. It looked very realistic. Aside from its lifeless eyes, this blue dragon could be said to be very realistic. Chapter 300. Huqi. Xiao Chen shouted and roared ferociously. Then he soared towards the thunderclouds in the sky. The holy might contained in the dragon roar spread out continuously for 1,000 meters. Everywhere it passed, the grass bent and a strong wind howled. Even the air seemed to stop. Under the control of Xiao Chen's spiritual sense, the blue dragon's figure was faintly discernible in the thunderclouds. Bolts of lightning flashed in the clouds. As the dragon and the clouds intersected, Xiao Chen could clearly feel the might of the state of thunder growing stronger. Rumble. Following a few piercing sounds of thunder, the aura of the state of thunder soared higher and higher. Finally, it reached the might of Morong Chang's state of wind and cloud. However, the dragon qi would eventually scatter. As the dragon qi was exhausted, the blue dragon's figure quickly became fainter. The aura of the state of thunder also became weaker. The blue dragon completely vanished. The state of thunder immediately returned to its original form, returning to its previous might. Xiao Chen revealed a helpless smile. He waved his hand and dispersed the state of thunder. The thunderclouds above him vanished, and only the howling of the strong wind remained at the top of the mountain. There is a saying, the wind follows the tiger, and the clouds follow the dragon. When the dragon and the clouds are together, they can indeed increase my state of thunder. However, this temporary effect is not what I want. Xiao Chen looked into the distance and revealed a pondering expression. He said indifferently, "What I want is not a temporary effect but a method to thoroughly strengthen the state of thunder." However, the direction was right. Holy might could indeed increase the might of the state of thunder. However, Xiao Chen could not find a way to extract holy might for now. There is no rush, I still have time. I can take it slow, Xiao Chen thought to himself. He sat back down on the rock and slowly closed his eyes, entering a state of deep thought. Xiao Chen sat there for 7 days. During these 7 days, Xiao Chen did not do anything. He did not even open his eyes. He entered a wondrous state of comprehension, trying to solve the problem of extracting holy might. To a martial saint, not eating or drinking for a month was not a problem. The spiritual energy they absorbed could already be converted into some of the energy their bodies needed. On this particular day, dark clouds gathered in the sky. Thunder roared. After a while, there was a torrential downpour. Rain poured down, drenching Xiao Chen inside and out. When Xiao Chen felt the roar of thunder, he suddenly opened his eyes. The purest energy of nature appeared in front of him. Bolts of lightning flashed in the ape's body. After that, there was a startling explosion of thunder. This scene happened right before Xiao Chen's eyes. The lightning that pierced through the sky seemed to be forever imprinted in his mind. He immediately felt enlightened. Xiao Chen's body trembled slightly, and the rainwater on his body immediately bounced off. The pouring rain was blocked by a formless barrier, unable to land on his body. After thinking about this problem for half a month, Xiao Chen finally had a clue. He reared his head back and laughed loudly. The thrill of sudden enlightenment was so exhilarating that it was hard to contain one's excitement. Actually, I have been misled by myself. The blue dragon martial spirit has already merged with my body. However, I have separated it. It is just like the lightning flashing in the sky and the torrential downpour. They are a part of the heavenly Tao. There is no distinction between them. They are all a part of the will of the heavenly Tao. My aura should contain the aura of the blue dragon martial spirit. However, I have only opened 13 acupoints, which is still a small number. Hence, it cannot be manifested, and there is no way to refine it. If I were to rely on my own strength to refine the pure aura of the blue dragon, I would have to open all 361 acupoints in my body. At that time, I would need to be a martial monarch at the very least. I do not know how long that would take. However, why would I refine it? All I have to do is infuse my aura into the state. Then the blue dragon martial spirit would naturally be infused into it. Xiao Chen had always been like this. With a thought, the dark clouds above his head became denser. Thunder rumbled, forming a stark contrast with the surrounding dark clouds. Xiao Chen unleashed his aura, causing it to soar continuously. Then he gathered it in his surroundings and did not release it, spiraling around him continuously. As his aura continued to rise, a formless shockwave surged out from the ground under Xiao Chen's feet. It blew away the pouring rain. Boom! When Xiao Chen's aura reached its peak, he shouted, not releasing it. His aura, which had been circulating around him, soared into the sky. A vague azure dragon could be seen soaring into the sky together with this aura. That blue dragon was very blurry. Even when Xiao Chen circulated his spiritual sense, he could only make out a hazy silhouette. Xiao Chen's aura soared into the sky as he tried to infuse it into the state with Xiao Chen's thoughts. This was the first time Xiao Chen had done this. In the past, he had only had experience with infusing his aura with saber techniques. He had not had any experience with infusing it with a state. Hence, he was somewhat unfamiliar with it. However, although saber techniques and states were very different, the general direction was the same. After Xiao Chen tried for more than an hour, he finally found a way to do it. The formless aura turned into drops of rain, and slowly infused into the state. As the aura continuously infused into the state, the thunderclouds above him roared louder. Lightning descended continuously. In an instant, it even surpassed the lightning of nature, making it seem dim. Boom, boom, boom. Just at this moment, the surrounding lightning suddenly turned ferocious. Every bolt was very frightening, as if they wanted to tear the sky apart. The thunder that followed was even more horrifying. The sound was ear-splitting. Even the mountain below Xiao Chen could not help but tremble. A strong wind and heavy rain poured down. The sky turned so dark that it seemed like it would press down on him. Xiao Chen's originally excited face suddenly turned startled. He said, "This is the heavenly Tao demonstrating its might to me. Earlier, when I infused my aura into the state, I suppressed the might of the heavenly Tao. Unexpectedly, it rebounded so strongly." There was an ancient legend that every time a martial emperor broke through, it was no longer a fight with themselves. The energy in their bodies had already been pushed to the limits. There was no more potential to be unearthed. Instead, they were fighting with the heavens, fighting for the heavenly Tao, stealing it for their own use to strengthen themselves. Although Xiao Chen's current situation was far from that of an ancient martial emperor, not even 1/10,000th of it, he had unintentionally done something that only an ancient martial emperor could do. He had accidentally angered the heavenly Tao. With his current cultivation, he had to stop quickly in such a situation. Otherwise, the rage of the heavenly Tao could turn him into ashes, leaving not even a corpse behind. However, at this moment, Xiao Chen's merging of his aura and state had reached a crucial moment. There was still one last step left. If he gave up now, all his previous efforts would be wasted. "I can't give up. Otherwise, there will not be such a good opportunity next time. The state that fights with the heavenly Tao is definitely stronger than an ordinary state. Xiaochen revealed a determined expression as he said calmly, "Boom, boom, boom." The deafening explosions rang out endlessly, and the lightning that tore through the sky did not stop for even a moment. Suddenly, a few bolts of lightning streaked across the sky beside Xiaochen. In that instant, the light completely evaporated the rainwater, leaving behind only a faint mist. The remnant electricity surged around Xiaochen's body. The crackling sounds continued. Xiaochen felt incredibly astonished. The might of this lightning was extraordinary. If it struck him, he would definitely not be able to endure it. Recollecting his thoughts, Xiaochen focused on merging his aura into his state. The thunderclouds above his head churned continuously. As his aura poured in, the might of his state started to rise steadily. The instant Xiaochen's aura completely poured in, a huge whirlpool formed above the thunderclouds. A bolt of lightning as thick as a water bucket streaked out. In that instant, the dark sky turned as bright as day. Once again, the lightning from the heavenly Tao paled in comparison. Success! Xiaochen said excitedly, his face filled with joy. Just at this moment, the lightning and rumbling in the sky suddenly stopped. Xiaochen's expression changed as he jumped off the peak. Boom! After a while, a strong bolt of lightning that had never appeared before shot over from the distant sky. The peak that Xiaochen stood on was instantly struck. The 2,000-meter-tall mountain peak exploded. A horrifying purple shock wave surged over and struck Xiaochen with a so sound. Pussy. Xiaochen vomited a mouthful of blood. When he turned his head back, he saw that the mountain peak, which had been perfectly fine earlier, now looked like someone had used a fist to smash it in half. How horrifying! Just the remnant might is unbearable. I wonder how those ancient emperors fought against the heavenly Tao. Xiaochen said with lingering fear as he wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. However, although I suffered some internal injuries, the state of thunder is finally complete. In the future, when I open more acupoints, the holy might in my aura will become even stronger. At that time, I can continue to merge them. The might of my state still has a lot of room to improve. Xiaochen had an excited smile on his face as he executed the gravity spell. His body slowly descended to the ground. The rain came and went very quickly. After that horrifying bolt of lightning descended, the rain slowly subsided. After that, the sky cleared up and a rainbow bridge appeared in the distance. It was beautiful beyond compare. Unexpectedly, a rainbow appeared. A rainbow was one of the most beautiful natural phenomena in the world. In his original world, Xiaochen had only heard of it but never seen it. This was the first time he saw it. He could not help but take a few more glances. It is indeed beautiful. However, this is not the time to be greedy. Withdrawing his gaze, Xiaochen looked around and found a smooth rock to sit on. Then he started to clean up the remnant lightning in his body. The Lingyun mountain range was vast and boundless. Aside from the 7 main peaks, there were countless isolated peaks and desolate mountain paths. This was where Xiaochen was, so he did not have to worry about being discovered. After a while, Xiaochen completely cleared out the shockwave caused by the heavenly lightning. He slowly opened his eyes and said, "Let's test the might of the state of thunder first." With a thought, rolling thunderclouds immediately gathered from all directions, forming a layer of clouds that roared with thunder. As the clouds churned, lightning flashed and thunder roared. Chapter 301. I have only used half of the state of small success, and it is already almost the same as when I used my full power in the past. It looks like the holy might has truly fused into it. Xiaochen looked at the thunderclouds above him and said indifferently, "Let's try it again." After merging the state and the move, the might produced will see if there is any improvement. Wuxia breaks the heavens. Without hesitation, Xiaochen raised his state to peak small perfection. Then he executed the killing move of the Wuxia saber technique. Wuxia breaks the heavens. The ancient divine Wuxia tree above Xiaochen's head grew rapidly. When the tree's branches and leaves flourished, flowers blossomed and bore fruit. A bolt of lightning immediately descended from the sky. For some reason, it raised Xiaochen's aura even higher. Wuxia. The blade lit up with a resplendent pillar of light. Then it quickly elongated. In the blink of an eye, the terrifying saber light had extended to a distance of 2,000 meters. At the end of the saber light, a mountain peak had been sliced in half. In the next moment, the triangular mountain peak crashed down with a loud bang. Xiaochen sheathed his saber. Then he pushed off the ground and leaped into the air. In an instant he arrived at the peak that had just been flattened. Looking at the smooth mirror-like gap, a faint smile appeared on Xiaochen's face. Although the might has only increased by 20%, the density of the saber light has increased by 50%. If I were to run into Morongchang's parting clouds revealing the sky again, I would be able to break his saber light easily. The concept fusion was officially successful. Xiaochen was overjoyed in his heart, but he wasn't too proud. In the following days, other than stabilizing and familiarizing himself with the concept of holy might, furthermore, Xiaochen had to continue practicing the Wuxia saber technique. In order to truly master a martial technique, he had to first familiarize himself with the circulation method of the martial technique's meridians. Next, he had to merge his state with the saber technique. Finally, he had to comprehend the state of the saber technique. Only by combining the three would one be able to truly cultivate a martial technique to the peak of consummation, mastering it thoroughly and bringing out its full power. Xiaochen had already completed the first two steps. Now he only lacked the final step. Once he merged the three into one, the Wuxia saber technique would reach consummation. The days went by. Xiaochen tirelessly started his own bitter cultivation. He practiced his saber techniques during the day, and the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation at night, making preparations to break through to the fifth layer. Xiaochen used the remaining time to cultivate the dragon and tiger body sculpting art. The dragon and tiger body sculpting art had already reached the peak of the fourth layer. He was just one layer away from being reborn, reaching the realm of dragon tendon tiger bone. In addition to the hardships of cultivation, there was also the lingering loneliness. Apart from cultivation, there was still cultivation. In the blink of an eye, Xiaochen had been cultivating in this desolate mountain for 2 months. Ah! With a loud shout, the bones in Xiaochen's body crackled from top to bottom like beans being fried. A drawn-out aura soared into the sky, piercing through the heavens and scattering the clouds. Xiaochen stopped and said indifferently, "The dragon and tiger body sculpting art has already entered the threshold of the fourth layer. I estimate that it will not be long before I reach small perfection. At that time, I should be able to open all the remaining acupoints on my right arm." The time of 2 months was somewhat different from what Xiaochen had imagined. His saber technique did not improve. He only managed to solidify his foundation. On the other hand, the dragon and tiger body sculpting art improved very quickly. Xiaochen thought for a while, and felt that the comprehension of the Wuxia saber technique state was not something that could be achieved through bitter cultivation. It would require a large number of battles. In that case, I should go out and walk around. Coincidentally, the Hall of Contributions is issuing high-level missions today. Let's see if there are any missions worth doing. Looking in the direction of the heaven viewing platform, Xiaochen pushed his feet off the ground. His body moved like an arrow, tearing through the air. In the blink of an eye, he moved 500 meters, leaving behind a shockwave. After 2 hours, Xiaochen arrived at the foot of the towering heaven viewing platform. Like before, there were many cultivators with flying spirit beasts at the foot of the mountain. They were recruiting disciples who wanted to climb the mountain. Xiaochen smiled gently. This time he did not need to hide his cultivation. He could just use the gravity spell to fly up. In the fight with Morongchang, he had already revealed many of his trump cards. There was no need to continue hiding them. The gravity spell was an entry-level immortal spell in the Compendium of Cultivation. However, its potential was shocking. Now that Xiaochen was a martial saint, it was still very easy for him to use it. It was fast and exhausted little essence. Such advantages guaranteed that it would always be worth it. As for the disadvantage of slow activation, as Xiaochen became more familiar with it, it was no longer a problem. 5 minutes later, Xiaochen arrived at the bustling heaven viewing platform. He walked towards the Hall of Contributions with familiarity. Yichen. It really is Yichen. What is he doing at the heaven viewing platform? Today is the day the high-ranked missions are issued. He should be going to the Hall of Contributions. I believe this time, no one will dare to object to him taking a high-ranked mission. Of course, after defeating Morong Chong, he is the strongest person of the previous generation in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. I heard that a few of the elders think highly of him. As Xiaochen walked, many people recognized him. Their gazes were no longer filled with suspicion and suspicion. Instead, they were filled with envy and respect. Xiaochen ignored these words. He had always been indifferent. When he was weak, he would not be affected by the mockery of others. Now that he was strong, he would not become complacent. He maintained his original state of mind. How it was in the past, how it is now. Who cares about the gossip? I will remain calm. Xiaochen paused for a while in front of the Hall of Contributions. Then he walked in with large strides. Xiao. When he entered the Hall of Contributions, the gazes of everyone in the hall were focused on him. As usual, the corridors were very quiet. Everyone was waiting for the core disciples to finish distributing the high-ranked missions before going to take another one. However, as Xiaochen walked in, no one dared to say anything. This was a stark contrast to the first time he came, when he was threatened with a saber. This was the deterrence brought about by strength. When Xiaochen went up to the second floor, the voices in the hall started again. Someone smiled and said, "This time, that group of core disciples probably did not expect Yichen to come. They are still discussing how to distribute the high-ranked missions. I wonder what expression they will have when they finish discussing and discover that Yichen has already taken the good missions. This group of people has been hogging our high-ranked missions. This time it feels good to see them suffer. Yichen has helped us vent our anger. I wonder if they will dare to look for Yichen later." Previously, Yichen was stopped by someone. The people in the hall were all non-core disciples of the sect. They had never been able to receive high-ranked missions. In the past, when Xiaochen was not strong enough, they were all silent, waiting to see Xiaochen make a fool of himself. When Xiaochen became strong, their attitudes immediately changed. Instead, they started cheering for Xiaochen. It could only be said that human psychology was very strange. On the second floor, Xiaochen went to the window for accepting missions. He handed over his waist tag to show his identity. The golden waist tag had the words, Yichen carved on it. Coincidentally, the cultivator who handed in the mission was the same person who had come the first time. When this person thought about what he did the first time, he felt very embarrassed. He took out a mission list and smiled. "Young hero Yi, I was not the one who made the decision in the past. I hope you can forgive me." Xiaochen smiled faintly to himself. He knew what he was talking about. Back then, he had given Xiaochen the most dangerous high-ranked missions that others did not want. He had hidden the better high-ranked missions. However, Xiaochen could not be bothered with this small matter of the past. Furthermore, Xiaochen had obtained a lot of benefits in the end. Xiaochen received the mission list and said, "Just don't do it again." That person heaved a sigh of relief. Perhaps some disciples did not know. They could only guess that Yichen was favored by the upper echelons. However, he was able to come into contact with some people. He was certain that the ninth elder of the elders' assembly favored Yichen, even intending to accept him as a disciple. Who was the ninth elder? He was a member of the elders' assembly. He held a high position and was very strong. With just a word, he could kick him out of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Hence, he had no choice but to be respectful to Xiaochen. Xiaochen picked up the mission list and looked at it carefully. He discovered that there were none of the extremely dangerous missions that he had seen previously. It seemed like these were normal high-ranked missions. After looking at it carefully for a long time, Xiaochen discovered that the high-ranked missions were also divided into 4 ranks: black, yellow, cyan, and white. Black was the highest, followed by yellow, and so on. The rewards of the black-ranked missions were usually around 1,000 contribution points. This was a very large sum. Even Xiaochen was somewhat tempted. 1,000 contribution points could be exchanged for 50 medial-grade spirit stones, not even for other items. No wonder those core disciples held on to the high-ranked missions so tightly, not willing to share them with others. There was too much profit in this. If one completed a high-ranked mission every month, they would be able to obtain enough medial-grade spirit stones for cultivation. Furthermore, they would have extra to buy other items. However, the difficulty of the black-ranked missions was very high. Xiaochen looked through them briefly. The simplest requirement was to kill a medial-grade rank 6 spirit beast. Without a team of 3, a regular martial saint would not be able to accept this mission. However, it was not a difficult task for Xiaochen. First, he accepted all the black-ranked missions that did not have a time limit. Then, Xiaochen chose 5 black-ranked missions that had a time limit of 3 months. This way, Xiaochen accepted a total of 20 black-ranked missions, about 2/3 of the total. If Xiaochen completed all the missions, the reward he would obtain would be an astonishing figure, a total of 30,000 contribution points. After Xiaochen selected the missions, he handed the list to the person who handed it to him. When that person saw the missions Xiaochen had chosen, his expression could not help but change. Unexpectedly, Xiaochen accepted 20 high-ranked missions in one go. If this continued, how was he going to account to the remaining core disciples? What's wrong? Is there a limit to the number of missions I can take? Xiaochen asked. The person who handed it to him recovered his wits and smiled. There is no such limit. However, if you fail a black-ranked mission, you will receive a very severe punishment. Not only will there be no mission reward, but your contribution points will also be deducted. The black-ranked missions that have a time limit will be even more deducted after you fail. Let me remind you out of goodwill. Young hero Yi, you have chosen so many. Can you really complete them all? Xiaochen said indifferently. Many thanks for the reminder. I guarantee that I will be able to complete them all. Xiaochen did not casually choose the black-ranked missions. Instead, he had carefully calculated and compared it to his own strength. He would only choose them when he was at least 80% confident. Chapter 302. The person handing over the missions could only say helplessly, "Then there is no problem. I will give you the mission contracts later. There are 2 copies. After you sign them, you can leave." After doing all this, Xiaochen glanced through the 20 mission contracts and placed them in his universe ring. Then he returned to the hall. In the hall, a group of core disciples walked towards Xiaochen. Their faces were filled with rage, but none of them dared to take a step forward. In the past, when Xiaochen was only an inferior grade martial saint, he dared to fight against the people from Gongyu Peak. Now that his strength had improved so much, he would not be afraid of them. Xiaochen looked at the 20 to 30 people blocking his way. He said indifferently, "Can you move aside? I want to go out." The person leading them was a core disciple of Qianduan Peak. His name was Zhang Sheng. He was a superior grade martial saint, but he had not reached the peak. It seemed like he was the leader of this group. "Yi Chen, with your strength, we have nothing to say if you want to take a high-ranked mission. We just want to ask if you can take out your mission contracts for us to take a look so that we can redistribute them," Zhang Sheng said. Xiaochen frowned slightly. He felt it was funny. Why did he have to show his mission contracts to others? "Sorry, I can't. There is no need for me to tell you the missions I took. I am in a rush. Will you move aside or not?" "You." Zhang Sheng was flustered. He had already lowered his stance, yet the other party did not give him any face. Seeing that the other party was not willing to move aside, Xiaochen felt some anger in his heart. He stared at Zhang Sheng and interrupted him. He said coldly, "Will you move aside or not?" Zhang Sheng looked at Xiaochen's cold gaze and thought of the battle between him and Morongchong. He immediately lost his confidence. He clenched his fist and retreated to the side with an unwilling expression. Seeing Zhang Sheng retreat, the other core disciples behind him with weaker cultivations sighed and took the initiative to make way for Xiaochen. Ignoring the expressions of the crowd, Xiaochen quickly left the Hall of Contributions and disappeared from everyone's sight. "Bastard, he actually took 20 black-ranked missions and only left 10 for us," Zhang Sheng said angrily after he and the others went up to the 2nd floor. Xiaochen could not hear the angry voices of these people. Even if he could, he would ignore them. A bunch of trash. Did they really think that the Hall of Contributions was their home, and that they had to accept all the missions in it? After Xiao Chun left the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, he took out the mission contract and flipped through it. He said indifferently, "Let's start from the closest one. I found this one. Recently, Clear Breeze City has been harassed by a peak rank 6 spirit beast. There are countless deaths and injuries." Clear Wind City was a small city in the Shiha province. It was about the same size as Mo City, where the Xiao clan used to be. The strongest cultivator in the city was only a superior grade martial saint. Even with the strength of the entire city, they would not be able to eliminate this peak rank 6 spirit beast. Every time a rank 6 spirit beast appeared, it would disrupt the order of the city. After taking out the map and ascertaining the direction to Qingfeng City, Xiao Chun executed the Blue Dragon Cloud Soaring art. He turned into a purple beam of light and rushed at full speed. 3 days later, with Xiao Chun rushing at full speed, the silhouette of a small city appeared in his vision. When Xiao Chun saw this city, he smiled faintly. "They are finally here. Let's end this quickly. It is just a peak rank 6 spirit beast." When Xiao Chun entered the city, he saw 5 wanted posters on the city walls. Xiao Chun could not help but stop and take a look. The wanted posters all showed his previous appearance. They were posted by the Duanmu clan and Hua clan, the Nanling province's Ji clan, the Shiha province's Yan clan, and the royal court's Gi Marquis. The bounty for each clan was at least 1,000 medial grade spirit stones. Added together, it was 6,000 medial grade spirit stones. Such a horrifying amount would make any cultivator feel tempted. "Young hero, after looking at it for so long, do you have any news of this person?" The city lord's residence guard in front of the wanted posters asked. Xiao Chun smiled faintly. "No, I am just curious." The guard smiled and said, "Everyone is the same as you." When they first saw him, they were all astonished. This brat actually offended the 4 noble clans. He even offended the royal court's Gi Marquis. If an ordinary cultivator offended any of the clans, they would be in trouble. However, this brat seems to have offended half of the powers in the Great Qin nation. However, it is strange. This brat has not appeared for close to a year. It is like he disappeared from the world. This caused the noble clans to increase their bounties. As long as we know where this person is, we will be able to obtain 10,000 gold taels and 1,000 inferior grade spirit stones. If I see this person, I will be rich. I will no longer have to work in the city lord's residence. Xiao Chun smiled gently and said, "You will have the opportunity to see him." After Xiao Chun spoke, he did not linger. He entered the city gates and quickly headed for the city lord's residence. After Xiao Chun reported his intentions to the guards, they immediately let him in and left him in the side hall. Xiao Chun sat on a wooden chair. Just as he finished drinking a mouthful of tea, he heard urgent footsteps. The door opened with a zhi sound. 2 middle-aged men entered. They were superior grade martial saints. However, the person on the left had a more profound cultivation. His aura was also much stronger than the person beside him. When Xiao Chun looked at the attire he was wearing, he should be the city lord of Clear Wind City. The person beside him should be his assistant. The city lord of Clear Wind City originally had an excited smile on his face. However, when he saw Xiao Chun, his expression immediately sank. He asked doubtfully, "Are you really a cultivator sent by the Heavenly Saber Pavilion? Why is your cultivation so low? Furthermore, you are alone. Are you a fake?" Xiao Chun smiled faintly. He did not get angry or anxious. He showed his identity token to the city lord and took out the mission contract. He said, "Heavenly Saber Pavilion Core Disciple, Qingyan Peaks Xiao Chun. The contract and identity token prove that I am the real deal." The city lord's assistant said angrily, "What is the point of sending a medial grade martial saint? There are many people in Clear Wind City waiting for you to save them. There is no need for your Heavenly Saber Pavilion to brush us off like this." Boom. Boom. As the few of them spoke, the ground suddenly trembled. The Clear Wind City lord's expression could not help but change. He said, "Oh no, that black flame snake is coming again. Let's leave quickly." Wuxia. A strong wind blew by the 2 of them. Xiao Chun took the initiative to open the door and leave. By the time the 2 of them chased after him, they could not even see Xiao Chun's shadow. The city lord said in astonishment. What a fast speed! Could we have made a mistake? The assistant at the side curled his lips and said, So what if he is fast? The skin of that black flame snake is even harder than frost iron. You and I are superior grade martial saints, yet we are unable to break its defense. How could he, a medial grade martial saint, do it? Xiaochen executed the gravity spell and quickly flew towards the source of the sound. After a while, he discovered the spirit beast that was causing the commotion. He saw a 3-meter-wide black flame snake quickly burrowing out of the ground on the wide streets of the city. It spat out black flames from its mouth, burning the surrounding houses to ashes. The people on the streets were all terrified, running for their lives in all directions. Peak Rank 6 Black Flame Snake. Xiaochen recognized the spirit beast's name with one glance. He said indifferently, However, it is only 200 years old. It is far from fully maturing. It is far from the 1,000-year-old scarlet-crowned snake in the underground world. Peak Rank 6 spirit beasts had differences in strength. Aside from the difference in bloodline, the age of the spirit beast determined its strength. The longer it lived, the more horrifying its cultivation would be. If this was a 1,000-year-old black flame snake, even a martial king would have trouble dealing with it. A 200-year-old black flame snake was not even comparable to the black tuna whale that Xiaochen encountered in the past. It could be dealt with easily. Xiao. When Xiaochen saw a clump of flames shooting at a little girl, he no longer hesitated. His figure flashed and he immediately landed on the ground. He carried the little girl in his embrace and quickly turned around. Bang! The black flame struck Xiaochen and exploded. A shockwave surged and instantly engulfed Xiaochen. This caused everyone to take in a deep breath of cold air. After the flames scattered, everyone was astonished to discover that the blue-robed Xiaochen was completely fine. Thank you, young hero, for saving my daughter. A middle-aged woman quickly ran over and took the little girl from Xiaochen's embrace. Then she thanked him profusely. Xiaochen said, There is no need to thank me. Leave quickly. This place is very dangerous. After Xiaochen spoke, he sent out a gentle energy and enveloped the two of them, pushing them to a safe distance. Wuxia. Just as Xiaochen withdrew his hand, the 200-meter-long black flame snake finally emerged from the ground. Its body soared into the air. It opened its bloody mouth and charged at Xiaochen. Its sharp teeth gleamed with a cold light, and strands of black qi lingered around it, making one tremble in fear. Xiaochen's expression did not change. He circulated his qi and took a small step forward just as the huge snake's mouth was about to land. With a loud roar, he clenched his right hand into a fist and punched the snake's neck. Boom! There was a dull sound and the black flame snake's huge body immediately tumbled backward. It smashed into the rocks on the street and shattered them. Xiaochen did not hold back in this punch. After the dragon and tiger body sculpting art reached the threshold of the 5th layer, he had already achieved 10,000 kilograms of force. How could his opponent endure this? As the black flame snake rolled over, it swung its huge tail ferociously, drawing the saber. A resplendent saber light lit up and the black flame snake's body, which was as hard as frost iron, was neatly cut in half. Scarlet blood spurted out in the air, and the 3-meter-long snake tail fell to the ground. Glittering Wuxia. Xiaochen leaped into the air and thunderclouds instantly gathered. He flicked his wrist 9 times and 9 strands of purple saber qi struck the black flame snake, leaving horrifying wounds on its body. The black flame snake writhed on the ground in pain, wailing in pain, leaving behind horrifying wounds. Flesh and blood flew everywhere, and the black flame snake rolled on the ground in pain. When the Clear Wind City Lord and his deputy rushed over, they happened to see this scene. They were astonished. The deputy, who had just said that Xiaochen would not be able to break the black flame snake's defense, immediately felt his face heat up. He muttered, How can this be? He is clearly only a medial grade martial saint. How can he break the black flame snake's defense? Chapter 303. The Clear Wind City Lord looked at the thunderclouds in the sky and entered deep thought. He said sullenly, He is different from us. No wonder he is so confident. This person is a cultivator who comprehended a state. Furthermore, his attainments in states are not low. That ordinary drawing the saber earlier is even stronger than a superior grade earth-ranked martial technique, when infused with his state. The density of his saber chi is also stronger than ours. It is comparable to an inferior grade martial king. It looks like Clear Wind City is saved this time. The Clear Wind City Lord said with an excited smile. The black flame snake on the ground curled up into a ball, looking like a small mountain. Its cold eyes flickered with a red light as it stared at Xiao Chun. The black flame snake flicked its red tongue continuously, trying to capture Xiao Chun. It opened its mouth wide, and the surrounding fire-attributed spiritual energy quickly surged towards it. A huge black fireball appeared and spun continuously. When the horrifying heat reached its peak, the black fireball surged towards Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun smiled faintly and said, "Playing with fire before me? You are far from good enough. Go back." A fierce purple flame burned continuously in Xiao Chun's right eye. He did not condense it. He just let it pour out. The purple flame immediately surged like a roaring river. Boom! The surging purple flame immediately swallowed up the black flame that the black flame snake spat out. The surging flame seemed boundless. In an instant, the black flame snake cried out miserably as it rolled on the ground. When the black flame snake felt Xiao Chun's horror, it quickly fled into the distance. Its body stuck close to the ground as it moved, crushing many buildings. Trying to leave? It is already too late. Wuxia shakes the heavens. Xiao Chun shouted, and the ancient divine Wuxia tree appeared from nowhere. It was like a mountain, carrying a surging thunder aura as it pressed down on the black flame snake. Rumble. The state of thunder infused with holy might surged continuously above Xiao Chun's head. Along with the rumbling thunder, the divine Wuxia tree grew larger at a visible rate. It pressed down on the black flame snake's body. The huge force caused the ground to tremble. After a while, the divine tree turned into a horrifying electric light and merged into the black flame snake's body. With a thought from Xiao Chun, the black flame snake exploded. The black flame snake, which was already riddled with wounds from the purple thunder true fire, was blasted into smithereens by this electric light. It left behind a rain of blood that fell from the sky. Xiao Chun pulled the black flame snake's spirit core over and tossed it into his universe ring. Then he quickly walked over to the Clear Wind City's city lord. Xiao Chun took out the mission contract and said indifferently, "Mission completed. Will you please leave your handprint and the city lord's official seal? It would be best if you left your handwriting on it." When the Clear Wind City's city lord saw the black flame snake, which had plagued Clear Wind City for several months, being easily killed by Xiao Chun, he still could not believe it. He only recovered his wits when Xiao Chun repeated himself. Xiao Chun Xiao Dragon Dragon City Lord. Lord Chun Dragon Lord. Xiao Moon. Forgive me for being direct, but isn't Qingyan Peak in decline? Xiao Chun smiled and said, "Qingyan Peak's Yichen is the real deal. There is no need for me to lie to you. Qingyan Peak has not declined either. At least, his martial technique inheritance is still here. Furthermore, there is a peak master with limitless potential." After the black flame snake died, the city lord was in a good mood. He smiled and said, "Truly a young hero. This is unbelievable. I will leave my handprint now." After the Clear Wind City Lord left his handprint, he took out the city lord's official seal and stamped it in red. Finally, he added his personal signature. Xiao Chun's mission was complete. Satisfied, Xiao Chun received the mission contract. He revealed a faint smile. He had obtained 1,000 contribution points. This mission was too simple. It could not temper his saber techniques at all. However, it was good to expand Qingyan Peak's reputation. As the city lord watched Xiao Chun leave, the assistant beside the city lord suddenly said, "My lord, I remember something. Recently, there was a rumor in the Shiha province that a youth from the Heavenly Saber Pavilion killed an expert of the older generation, Yu Mingshan. It seems like it might be him." The city lord muttered, "There is an 80% chance that it is him." Although the black flame snake was a weak peak rank 6 spirit beast, it was still a peak superior grade martial saint. It would take a lot of effort to kill it. Furthermore, it would be hard to escape unscathed. This youth easily killed the black flame snake in just a few moves. Clearly, the two are not on the same level. There would not be more than 10 such geniuses in the great Qin nation. Qingyun Peak's reputation is going to soar. The Flowing Cloud mountain range was the second largest mountain range in the Xia province, second only to the Lingyun mountain range. The spiritual energy there was much less dense than the Lingyun mountain range. However, the spirit herbs and all sorts of rare plants in the mountain range were no less than the Lingyun mountain range. It was a famous herb mountain. The most important thing was that although there were many sects of various sizes around this mountain range, there was not a single strong sect. Hence it was ownerless. There were many more cultivators coming and going here than in the Lingyun mountain range. Most of them were hired by the big powers to protect the herb gatherers, preventing them from being injured by the ferocious spirit beasts in the mountains. On a lone peak in the core of the Flowing Cloud mountain range, a white-clothed girl carrying a medicinal basket was nimbly climbing up a dangerous cliff. Beside the white-clothed girl was a young bladesman in blue robes. He slowly floated beside her, protecting her. If that bladesman was not Xiao Chun, who else could it be? Xiao Chun looked at the white-clothed girl climbing up bitterly. He shook his head and said indifferently, "Miss Sun, why go through so much trouble? Just tell me what the herb you are looking for looks like, and I'll help you pick it." This girl was the daughter of the manor lord of a manor famous for alchemy near the Flowing Cloud mountain range. Her name was Sun Qian. She was also the one who issued the mission for Xiao Chun. If he helped the other party pick a spirit herb, he would receive 1,000 contribution points. Xiao Chun did not want to waste any time. Hence, he wanted to quickly complete the mission. Sweat covered Sun Qian's exquisite face. When she heard Xiao Chun's words, she wiped away her sweat and smiled. "Young Master Yi, it is not that I insist on doing this. It is just that this spirit herb is very troublesome to pick. You have to pull out all the roots. Furthermore, it cannot be damaged at all. Otherwise, if the spiritual energy leaks out, the spirit herb will wither very quickly. The medicinal effects will be completely gone. An inexperienced herb gatherer would not know the exact method." Xiao Chun smiled faintly. Since Sun Qian said that, he could only let her be. He extended out his spiritual sense and started to investigate the surroundings. Xiao Chun knew how to refine alchemy as well. He knew that Sun Qian was exaggerating. As long as there was some damage, the medicinal effects of any spirit herb would not diminish so quickly. However, Xiao Chun could not be bothered. Sun Qian's request was not exaggerated. When the time came, he would just have to adapt to the situation. The cliff that the two of them were on was very famous in the entire Flowing Cloud mountain range. It had an interesting name, Go Crazy First, also known as Immortal Herb Peak. The Immortal Herb Peak was the core of the Flowing Cloud mountain range. It was where the spiritual energy of the entire mountain range gathered. The peak was filled with peak-grade spirit herbs that could be picked at any time. At the foot of the mountain were spirit herbs that were about 50 years old. At the waist of the mountain, they were all spirit herbs that were more than 100 years old. If one could climb to the peak, they might even be able to find spirit herbs that were more than 1,000 years old. It could be said to be a true immortal herb peak. The reason why it had another name, Go Crazy First, was passed down by herb gatherers. Only a crazy person would risk their life to climb this peak. This was because it was simply too dangerous. There were all sorts of ferocious flying spirit beasts in the surroundings. These spirit beasts consumed peak-grade spirit herbs all year round. Their cultivations were much stronger than regular spirit beasts. Furthermore, this was because it was high up in the sky. Even a peak superior grade martial saint who had not learned a flying martial technique would not dare to climb to the waist of the mountain. At most, they would pick some spirit herbs at the foot of the mountain and leave immediately. As for the peak above 4,000 meters, there was once a superior grade martial king who relied on his strength to fly up. In the end, he did not even last half a minute before he was brutally killed by the guardian spirit beast of the holy herb. Xiao Chun was very clear on his own strength. This mission only required him to climb to the waist of the mountain. The height of 100 meters was still within his acceptable range. If he went any higher, he would have to give up on this mission. Without the cultivation of a martial king, he would simply be seeking death. At this moment, he had only climbed less than 500 meters, and he had already run into several ferocious rank 6 spirit beasts. Xiao Chen's spiritual sense detected a few black dots flying over from the northwest. He took out the Soul Slayer bow from the universe ring and said indifferently, "Miss Sun, be careful. There are more spirit beasts flying over." When Sun Qian heard this, her expression changed slightly. She quickly stopped climbing and slowly moved towards a protruding rock that she could use as leverage. The black dots in the distance got closer. They were 4 medial grade rank 6 spirit beasts, flaming cloud vultures. They were 3 meters long and had a wingspan of 20 meters. The feathers on their bodies were as bright as fire. They looked like a burning flame in the air. There were 9 vertical feathers on their tails. They were like sharp swords, straight and tough. There was a strand of flame at the tip of each feather. Although these flying spirit beasts were only medial grade rank 6, they were more difficult to deal with than a regular peak rank 6 spirit beast. If one was not careful, they would suffer greatly. Xiao Chen drew back the bowstring and nocked an essence light arrow. His spiritual sense locked onto a flaming cloud vulture, and he immediately released. The arrow moved like a meteor, tearing through the air and creating a piercing sound. With a so sound, the arrow pierced through a flaming cloud vulture, creating a huge bloody hole. The flaming cloud vulture cried out miserably and fell to the ground. Chi. Xiao Chen's hands did not stop moving as he fired another arrow. The stronger the Soul Slayer bow, the stronger it would be. Every few months when Xiao Chen used it, its might would increase significantly. The other flaming cloud vulture that Xiao Chen aimed at turned in the air. However, it still could not escape its fate of death. With a bang, a bloody hole appeared in its body. "Miss Sun, be careful. I'll be back soon." The remaining 2 flaming cloud vultures were already less than 500 meters away from Xiao Chen. If they were too close, the Soul Slayer bow would not be as effective. Xiao Chen swapped out his lunar shadow saber and rushed out to lure the flaming cloud vultures away. Sun Qian said worriedly, "Young hero Yi, be careful." So, a flaming cloud vulture quickly flew over Xiao Chen's head. Its 2 sharp claws, which could easily tear through rocks, clawed at Xiao Chen's head. Chapter 304. If Xiao Chen was caught, no matter how strong his physical body was, his head would immediately explode. When Sun Qian saw the huge body of the fiery cloud vulture covering Xiao Chen's figure, she was so frightened that she turned pale and cried out. Bang! Bang! There were 2 explosions in the air. The first explosion was when the fiery cloud vulture's hard, frost iron claws were chopped off, and it fell from the sky. The second explosion was when a saber pierced through the fiery cloud vulture's body. After that, Xiao Chen's entire body pierced through the fiery cloud vulture. When Sun Qian saw that Xiao Chen was safe and sound, she heaved a sigh of relief and said, "That scared me to death." If Xiao Chen had died under the claws of the fiery cloud vulture, with her martial Grand Master cultivation, it was easy to imagine the consequences. She would have followed in Xiao Chen's footsteps. The final fiery cloud vulture circled around Xiao Chen continuously. Its tail feathers left rings of flames in the air. Finally, these flames formed a huge flaming tornado, encasing Xiao Chen within. Break! Xiao Chen swung his saber and a sharp saber chi tore a hole in the flaming tornado. Then he quickly flew out of the blazing flames. So. The instant Xiao Chen emerged, the 8 flaming feathers on the fiery cloud vulture's tail feathers shot out like sharp arrows. As the flaming wings flew, they continuously absorbed the fire-attributed spiritual energy in the air. When they got close to Xiao Chen, they turned into a 20-meter-long flaming spear. Xiao Chen used the gravity spell in the air, so he could only bring out about 70% of his strength. He did not dare to clash head-on with these flaming spears. Roaming Dragon's 9 transformations. Xiao Chen shouted and his body trembled in the air. He split into 9 and dodged the flaming spears flying at him. The momentum of the spears did not decrease. When they struck the ground, they blasted open 8 deep pits. Clear wind chop, only seeing the cool wind and not the saber. 9 gusts of cool wind blew from all directions, and in each breeze, there was a gust of wind. Xiao Chen's figure was hidden in each of them. In an instant, Xiao Chen's killing intent was completely gone. Only a gentle breeze brushed past the fiery cloud vulture's body. The fiery cloud vulture had never encountered such a situation before. It could not sense Xiao Chen's killing chi, so it could not help feeling suspicious. Boom! Just as it was feeling puzzled, Xiao Chen's 9 figures merged together. 9 pieces of saber chi shot out from the fiery cloud vulture's body, cutting it into 9 pieces in an instant. Xiao Chen sheathed his saber and returned to Sun Qian's side. He said indifferently, "If we go any higher, it will be even more dangerous. Just tell me what spirit herbs you need, and I will bring you there." Sun Qian revealed a difficult expression and hesitated. However, when she saw the determination in Xiao Chen's eyes, she lowered her head and said softly, "I want a 500-year-old 9-colored flowing cloud fruit. I want to trample on the entire plant." A 500-year-old 9-colored flowing cloud fruit was very valuable. If she sold it, she could easily fetch more than 500 medial-grade spirit stones. "It looks like I am going to make a loss on this mission." Xiao Chen shook his head helplessly. He extended out his spiritual sense and found the 9-colored flowing cloud fruit after a while. Indeed, the 9-colored flowing cloud fruit was not just 100 meters up the mountain. It was more than a kilometer up. No wonder this girl refused to let him bring her up. She was probably worried that after Xiao Chen found out about the situation, she would immediately turn around and leave. So she could only brace herself and climb on her own. It would not be good to leave her behind when they reached the place. Xiao Chen withdrew his spiritual sense and smiled bitterly. Then he picked up Sun Qian, who had her head lowered, and hugged her by the waist. As Sun Qian cried out in surprise, Xiao Chen executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art and activated the windwalk shoes. His speed instantly reached the speed of sound as he quickly climbed up the cliff. In the blink of an eye, Xiao Chen arrived at the location of the 9-colored flowing cloud fruit. He placed the dazed Sun Qian on a protruding rock and said, "We have arrived. Hurry up. There will be spirit beasts arriving soon." When Sun Qian saw the 9-colored flowing cloud fruit before her, she recovered her wits. She quickly took out a hoe from the herb basket and started to dig carefully. Xiao! Suddenly, a formless fluctuation appeared in the air. Xiao Chen frowned slightly as he looked into the distance. At the limits of his vision, he saw a fiery cloud vulture that was 20 meters long and had a wingspan of 100 meters. There were 20-odd feathers on its tail. Damn it, it is actually an adult fiery cloud vulture. It has lived for at least 500 years. I am definitely not a match for it in the air. Xiao Chen quickly analyzed the situation. Very few spirit beasts could live to adulthood. However, once they did, their strength would undergo a qualitative change. "Miss Sun, how much longer do you need?" Xiao Chen asked. Sun Qian was focused on digging the small tree where the flowing cloud fruit grew. When she heard Xiao Chen's question, she replied, 2 minutes. I only need 2 minutes. Xiao Chen's expression was calm as he said, "Don't lie to me. I'll pick you up in 2 minutes. After Xiao Chen spoke, he leaped into the air and quickly flew towards the adult fiery cloud vulture, luring it in another direction. Xiao Chen did not seek to kill it. He just wanted to delay it for 2 minutes. Hearing the voice behind her and sensing that Xiao Chen had left, Sun Qian's head immediately swelled. Her 2 charming eyebrows were tightly knitted together. With a bitter face he said, "Really, I need at least 3 minutes. I should hurry up." His hands began to move faster. After digging out the rhizome, he immediately cleaned the rhizome carefully. There were close to a few hundred long and thin tentacles on the rhizome. If Sun Qian could not break a single one of these tentacles, she would not be able to achieve her goal. The sounds of explosions came from behind her, making her even more nervous. She increased her speed even more. 2 minutes later, Xiao Chen rushed back, travel-worn. His robes were burned to the point that not a single part of them was undamaged. His hair was disheveled. Blood leaked out from the corner of his lips, and a fiery red feather was stuck in his chest. Xiao Chen pulled out the feather. When Sun Qian heard the voice again, her forehead was covered in sweat. Her hands moved extremely quickly before she managed to place the last few tentacles back into the herb basket and cover it properly. Xiao Chen did not give her a chance to speak. He carried her and quickly descended to the ground 2 kilometers above the ground. Bang! The moment the two of them left, the adult fiery cloud vulture's huge claws clawed at the mountain peak. Two large holes with a diameter of 10 meters appeared in the mountain peak, causing dust to fly everywhere. When the mature fiery cloud vulture saw that the entire 9-colored flowing cloud fruit had been dug out, it became completely enraged. It let out a sharp cry and charged at Xiao Chun and Sun Qian. Its speed instantly surpassed the speed of sound. Sun Qian fell from a high altitude. She was in Xiao Chun's embrace, her complexion pale. She was so frightened that she did not dare to make a sound. She grabbed onto Xiao Chun's waist tightly. Circulating the dragon and tiger body sculpting art, Xiao Chun withdrew his strength and increased his weight to 5,000 kilograms. His speed of descent immediately increased by several tens of times. When Xiao Chun was about to land, he quickly dispersed his energy and sent out a shockwave towards the ground. His body immediately slid forward. Purple thunder, true fire, shoot! Xiao Chun turned his head, and a fierce purple flame quickly gathered in his right eye. It formed a purple arrow and struck the fiery cloud vulture at lightning speed. Boom! The explosion created a huge shockwave, blowing the huge body of the mature fiery cloud vulture far away. In an instant, it was a great distance away from Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun completed this series of actions in the time it took for a spark to fly. There were no pauses at all. He had exhausted less than 30% of his essence. In addition to the injuries he had suffered earlier, this journey could be said to be extremely dangerous. If he hesitated for even a moment, he would have died under the vulture's claws. Outside the mountain range, the people of the Clear Water Manor's flowing cloud sect were waiting anxiously. When they saw Xiao Chun carrying Sun Qian flying out, they all revealed joyful smiles. Xiao Chun landed firmly on the ground while carrying Sun Qian. He gently placed the blushing Sun Qian on the ground before slowly moving to the side. First, miss, did you succeed? Did you manage to pick the 9-colored flowing cloud fruit? The people of the Clear Water Manor immediately surrounded Sun Qian and asked all at once. After they received an affirmative answer, they all revealed excited smiles. With this, we can transplant the flowing cloud fruit back to our Clear Water Manor's herb garden in perfect condition. The Manor Lord will be very happy. We will be able to earn at least 100 medial-grade spirit stones every year. Xiao Chun tidied up his messy clothes and his scattered black hair. When he heard this, he finally understood why they could not destroy the roots of the flowing cloud fruit. It turned out that they needed to transplant the herb. However, the flowing cloud fruit was already a rank 8 spirit herb. For the Clear Water Manor to know how to transplant it, they really hid their strength. Sun Qian parted the crowd and rushed over to Xiao Chun excitedly. Her face was filled with smiles as she said, "Young hero Yi, thank you very much. Are your injuries all right?" Xiao Chun smiled casually, indicating that he was fine. In reality, he was indeed fine. Although the mature fiery cloud vulture was very ferocious, it would be difficult for Xiao Chun to escape unscathed if he kept dodging. However, he could still avoid getting injured. This is the mission contract. Miss Sun, please sign it and leave your fingerprint. Xiao Chun said as he took out the contract in ink and handed it to Sun Qian. After Sun Qian received the contract and signed it, she took out 2 bottles of medicinal pills and handed them to Xiao Chun. She said, "Young hero Yi, these are our Clear Water Manor's secret healing pills. When consumed orally and applied externally, they can heal your injuries quickly." Xiao Chun received the contract and medicinal pills. Then he performed a cupped fist salute and said, "Many thanks, Miss Sunday. I will take my leave first." After speaking, Xiao Chun did not linger. His figure flashed as he left. Sun Qian looked in the direction Xiao Chun left. Her gaze never left him. It was like something in her heart had been hollowed out. "Miss, stop looking. This kind of person is destined to be on a different level from us," the old housekeeper of the Clear Water Manor said unhurriedly when he saw Sun Qian's expression. Sun Qian revealed a bitter smile and disappointment flashed in her eyes. She said indifferently, "I know. That's why I did not try to hold him back. Let's go." After leaving the Flowing Cloud Manor, Xiao Chun went to the nearest city and found an inn. He took a comfortable bath and changed his clothes. Then he took out the mission contracts and checked them carefully. After Xiao Chun checked them one by one, he said, In the past 2 months, I have already completed the 15 missions in the Shiha province. The remaining 5 are for the other prefectures. Let's start with the Dongming province first. Chapter 305. Suddenly, Xiaochen focused his gaze on a mission contract. This black rank mission was different from the others. There were 5 black stars behind the black title. The 5 stars represented the difficulty of the mission. It was the highest among the black rank missions. The most difficult mission that Xiaochen had done in the past 2 months was only 3 stars. It required Xiaochen to use 70% of his strength before he managed to complete it. However, the reward of a 5-star mission was very generous. It was a total of 3,000 contribution points. However, what made Xiaochen unable to shift his gaze away was the name of the person entrusted to the mission. Dongming Province's Duanmu clan's Duanmuking. There was no detailed description of the mission. It only roughly stated that it was an escort mission. The requirement was that the cultivator must not be higher than Martial King. When Xiaochen first saw this mission, he did not hesitate and chose it. Be it the high reward or the person entrusted to the mission, Xiaochen was very interested in it. With the Duanmu clan's strength, they actually wanted to entrust the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. This escort mission was definitely not simple. Furthermore, the requirement of this mission was very interesting. The cultivator must not be higher than Martial King. Xiaochen quickly figured out the crux of the matter. The destination of the escort mission would definitely have a barrier. Those above Martial King would not be able to enter. Interesting, there will definitely be a pleasant surprise in this mission. Xiaochen put away the contract and smiled faintly. I will rest for the night first. We will depart tomorrow. Dongming Province, Sihui Prefecture's capital, Duanmu clan's courtyard. As one of the 2 great noble clans of Dongming Province, the Duanmu clan occupied an area of several thousand mu. There were countless pavilions, corridors, and courtyards. At this moment, there was a cold and elegant girl sitting on a wooden chair in the main hall. Her gaze was very cold. One look from her could make one feel a bone-chilling cold. This was the Duanmu clan's princess, Duanmuking. Occasionally, there would be servants rushing in. These people did not dare to look her in the eye. When they arrived, they immediately knelt on the ground. Reporting to First Miss, Nanling Province's Ji clan's Ji Chongkong has arrived and is waiting in the front yard. Hua Yunfei of Dongming's Hua clan has arrived and is waiting in the front yard. The Misty Sword sect's first disciple, Chu Chaoyan, has arrived. He is also waiting in the front yard. Night Spirit Palace's second disciple, Mu Yanxue, has arrived and is waiting in the front yard. The Duke's Guy Marquis, Ing Xiao, has arrived and is waiting in the front courtyard. The servant's voice only stopped after reporting more than 10 people. Any one of these people could be said to be famous in the Great Qin nation. They were all outstanding talents of the younger generation. Unexpectedly, they were all gathered in the Duanmu clan today. If outsiders knew of such a situation, they would definitely be astonished. They would not know what had happened for the Duanmu clan to gather all the geniuses of the Great Qin nation's younger generation. Duanmuking slowly stood up and asked, aside from Mu Qingxue, who is in seclusion, who else is not here? A middle-aged woman beside Xiaochen replied, aside from him, there is only the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's Morongchong. Furthermore, I heard that the Heavenly Saber Pavilion treated our invitation as a mission and sent it out. They did not take it seriously at all. Duanmuking's expression did not change. He said indifferently, there is no need to bother with them. Morongchong has already left the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. I believe they will not be able to send anyone decent. They are preparing to send someone over. After Duanmuqing spoke, she led a few women with high cultivations to the front yard. Before they reached the front yard, a loud sound rang out. Before they reached the front yard, they felt a strong aura rushing into the sky. They did not give way to each other. They were fighting in the sky, causing the sky to change color. The people who came this time were all dragons and phoenixes among men. Naturally, they were not willing to be inferior to others. It was clear that these auras were done on purpose. In the front yard, there were more than 100 people seated in 4 directions. One direction for the Dongming province, one direction for the Nanling province, one direction for the Shiha province, and one direction for the prince's residence. The weakest of these people was a superior-grade martial saint. Many of them had comprehended their own states, and could easily kill an inferior-grade martial king. The vast front yard was exceptionally quiet. However, under this silence there was an undercurrent. The scions of the various noble clans were sizing up their competitors. Dong, dong, dong. Footsteps could be heard. It was Duanmuking walking in. The woman beside her revealed a smile and said softly, "Thank you everyone, for giving face to the Duanmu clan and coming as arranged." In the front yard, a purple-robed youth sat in the south. He laughed strangely and said in a cynical manner, "Ha ha, I am not giving face to the Duanmu clan. I am here for my own fortuitous encounter." Cut the crap. Duanmuking, what exactly is the Firely Sect branch hall remnant that you mentioned? Tell us more clearly. I believe everyone here is here for a fortuitous encounter. The person who spoke was said to be the last sect in the Tianwu continent that had a complete method to forge secret treasures. After the destruction of the Tianwu dynasty, the person who spoke was called Sun Wei. He was the scion of the Sun clan, one of the two noble clans of the Nanling province. He was very strong. However, his fame was suppressed by Mu Qingxue and Ji Chongkong. Hence, not many people knew about him. Based on what Sun Wei said, no wonder Duanmuking was able to gather all the outstanding talents of the great Qin nation. It turned out that there was the temptation of a fortuitous encounter. The geniuses all had the same starting line. The amount of fortuitous encounters they had would determine how far they could go in the future, and how outstanding they were. Many of the people here had experienced their own fortuitous encounters. They were very familiar with the benefits. It was impossible for them not to come. The Firely sect was lost in the long river of history, mysteriously disappearing. Not to mention finding the method to forge secret treasures. Just finding a few high-ranked secret treasures would allow everyone's strength to increase significantly. Or perhaps they could find a few special martial techniques of the Firely sect. They could also increase their strength significantly. It had to be known that 10,000 years ago, the Firely sect was in existence that could rival a holy land. The martial techniques in the sect would definitely not be simple. Duanmuking looked at Sun Wei coldly, causing the latter to feel a deep chill. He said indifferently, "When everyone is here, I will naturally tell you." Sun Wei was a little flustered by this look. He quickly circulated his essence and forced out the chill from the bottom of his heart. Ji Chongkong, who was not far behind Sun Wei, said indifferently, "Who else is not here yet? The Heavenly Saber Pavilion's Morong Chong?" Reporting to First Miss, "The people from the Heavenly Saber Pavilion are here," a servant said quickly as he ran in. Duanmuking said softly, "Invite him in." After they arrived at the Duanmu clan's residence, Xiaochen handed over the mission contract and was quickly let in. From a distance, Xiaochen could feel all sorts of auras clashing intensely in the air above the front yard. While waiting for the notification, Xiaochen extended out his spiritual sense. The appearances of everyone in the front yard immediately appeared in his vision. Xiaochen withdrew his spiritual sense and smiled faintly. The Guyi Marquis Ji Chongkong, Hua Yunfei Duanmuking, Chu Chaoyan and Mu Yanxue. There are many familiar faces here. Aside from these people, Xiaochen was surprised to see Yin Kursen. As for the others that he did not recognize, he could guess their identities. If they were not from the three great sects, then they were the disciples of the inherited noble clans. All of them were at least superior-grade martial saints. Every noble clan disciple brought 2 or 3 subordinates with them. This mission is probably different from what I expected. It is definitely not a simple escort mission. Xiaochen collected his thoughts and thought to himself, "I'll take it one step at a time. When the time comes, I'll act according to the situation. I can use this opportunity to understand their strength." Without waiting for long, the person who led Xiaochen and immediately passed on Duanmuking's words to him. "Young Master Yi, the young miss invites you in." Xiaochen nodded and sorted out his emotions. Then he slowly walked in. Xiao. The moment he entered, Xiaochen felt countless gazes directed at him. Some of these gazes were filled with disdain, some with doubt, and some with undisguised mockery. Xiao Chen maintained a calm expression as he took in everyone's expressions. When he discovered that Ji Chongkong and the others did not have any strange expressions, he relaxed slightly. On the other hand, Chu Chaoyun's reaction surprised Xiao Chen. He only glanced at Chu Chaoyun briefly before ignoring him. Then Chu Chaoyun closed his eyes and rested. When Xiao Chen felt Yin Kerson's gaze, he nodded at her. He discovered that her cultivation had actually broken through to superior grade martial saint in a short period of time. It looks like she has already completely comprehended the heaven-ranked cultivation technique, the roaming dragon incantation. Suddenly, Sun Wu laughed loudly within the crowd. He pointed at Xiao Chen and said, "How funny. Duamyuking, you made us wait for so long just for this trash? He is just a medial grade martial saint. Is he even fit to compete with us for a fortuitous encounter?" Duamyuking was mildly surprised as well. He did not expect the Heavenly Saber Pavilion to be so perfunctory. Even if Morong Chong did not come, sending a peak superior grade martial saint should not be difficult. Aside from Morong Chong, who else in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion is worth looking at? Go back to where you came from. A royal clan disciple in the royal court said casually. The Dongming province's Hua Yunfei also smiled coldly and said, "A medial grade martial disciple is just sending himself to death. Duamyuking, don't tell me you are going to invite such a person as well?" The matter of Xiao Chen defeating Morongchong was only known by a small number of people in the Shihe province. It had not spread out on a large scale. Aside from the Shi clan Shifeng, Mu Yanxue, Yin Kerson, and the others who knew Xiao Chen's true strength, no one else knew. However, when they saw Xiao Chen ridiculing them, they did not say anything. They only watched quietly as the situation developed. Sun Wu revealed a cold expression and said sullenly, "Are you still not going to scram? Don't blame me for making a move." So, a strong wind blew in the courtyard, picking up the fallen leaves and causing them to dance in the air. Sun Wu leaped into the air, passing through countless fallen leaves as he punched at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen's expression was incomparably calm. He did not feel any joy or sorrow in his heart. When he saw Sun Wu flying over, he casually waved his hand. The lightning-attributed spiritual energy in the air immediately gathered and formed a clump of intense purple flames. It appeared in front of Sun Wu and flew at him. Chapter 306. You dare to make a move against me with such a small amount of lightning-attributed fire? You overestimate yourself. Break for me. Xiao Chen roared ferociously. The fist wind was like a pillar as it struck the purple thunder true fire that Xiao Chen formed. Bang! The purple flames exploded, creating a shockwave in the air. The huge force shocked Sunwei, who was in the air. Sunwei's punch did not scatter the purple flames. Unexpectedly, after the purple flames exploded, they could still produce such a huge force. Boom! 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 Before Sunwei could react, Xiao Chen waved his right hand 3 more times. 3 clumps of purple flames shot out from 3 different directions at Sunwei. Sunwei spun around in the air and kicked. There was an explosive sound in the air. One of the clumps of purple flames shattered and turned into a purple shockwave. Using the force of this kick, Sunwei quickly changed his angle and dodged the 2 clumps of purple flames. Boom! 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 Xiao Chen's expression did not change. He casually sent out another 4 clumps of purple flames at Sunwei. Sunwei's expression turned slightly angry. His body, which had been preparing to charge forward, could not help but move back and scatter the purple flames. Following Xiao Chen's casual movements, Sunwei's body flipped continuously in the air as he shouted. However, he could not get close to Xiao Chen. Instead, the purple lightning-attributed fire pushed him further back. Purple thunder true fire. Xiao Chen shouted, and all the remnant purple lightning in the air instantly formed a huge clump of purple flames. This lightning-attributed fire was incredibly ferocious. The moment it appeared, the temperature in the courtyard rose by more than 1,000 degrees Celsius. The flowers and plants in the courtyard were scorched and turned into ashes. Bang! Sunwei, who was in the air, was caught off guard. He only had time to form a barrier of essence. The ferocious flames immediately struck him, giving off a loud sound. His body fell to the ground like a sandbag and rolled far away. When the others saw Sun Wei tumbling to the ground, their expressions changed. They no longer looked at Xiao Chun with the contempt they had earlier. Almost everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Sun Wei's strength could be ranked in the top 30 among the 100 people present. However, Xiao Chun did not move at all. With just a few casual waves of his hand, he had sent Sun Wei flying. This level of strength was enough to make one's heart palpitate. Many of them swapped the scene just now and came to the same conclusion. If they were Xiao Chun, they would also be able to repel Sun Wei, but they would not be able to do it as easily as Xiao Chun. Withdraw! Xiao Chun shouted and clenched 2 fingers on his right hand. The scattered purple qi in the air quickly gathered at his fingertips. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a huge flame whirlpool. The purple flames continued to condense and finally formed a small wisp of flame, swaying and dancing above his 2 fingers. After Sun Wei rolled on the ground, he pushed off the ground and quickly stood up. His expression was incredibly sullen, and a murderous intent appeared in his eyes. Sun Wei's right hand quickly grasped the sword at his waist. Punching and kicking were his weaknesses. Earlier he saw that Xiao Chun did not draw a weapon, so he did not bother drawing one. However, he did not expect to embarrass himself in front of everyone. Sun Wei did not think that his strength was weaker than Xiao Chun, a medial-grade martial saint. Furthermore, he was a cultivator with an inherited martial spirit. If he used his full strength, Xiao Chun would not be a match for him. Today no one can save you. Die. Setting sun break. Sun Wei roared ferociously and drew the sword at his waist. A setting sun appeared from nowhere and turned into a dazzling sword light, shooting at Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun smiled faintly and said softly, "Release." The swaying flame on Xiao Chun's fingertips suddenly turned into a roaring fire dragon. It carried countless arcs of electricity and surging heat waves as it soared into the air. Duan Yiking's expression turned grave. He knew that if they continued fighting like this, one of them would be severely injured. This would not be beneficial to this operation. Her lily-white hand stretched out in the air, and an ice wall rose from the ground, blocking the fire dragon and sword qi. The temperature in the air plummeted. The blazing sun hung overhead, but it made everyone feel like they had fallen into an ice cave. Frost covered everything in the front yard. It was like everything had stopped moving. The sun-like sword qi and the purple fire dragon were attacked by a strange cold current on the ice wall. They were quickly frozen at a speed visible to the naked eye. Bang! When the sword qi and the fire dragon were 5 meters away from the ice wall, they were completely frozen. When they crashed into the ice wall, they immediately shattered into countless tiny ice shards. Unexpectedly, the martial techniques of the two were broken by Duan Muqing at the same time. This move shocked everyone present. Xiao Chun was mildly astonished. After not seeing Duan Muqing for a year, Duan Muqing's strength had actually become so horrifying. Duan Muqing withdrew his hand and scattered the ice wall. The temperature in the front yard returned to normal. The feeling of falling into an ice cave instantly disappeared. Sun Wei, if you still want to participate in this mission, you better shut your mouth and sheath your sword, Duan Muqing said expressionlessly. Sun Wei snorted coldly and sheathed his sword. The strength that Duan Muqing had displayed made him not dare to be as impudent as he was earlier. Sun Wei glanced coldly at Xiao Chun and said, "Heavenly Saber Pavilion's trash. After this mission ends, you better pray that you do not meet me." Boom. Just as Sun Wei finished speaking, there was suddenly a deafening clap of thunder in the sky. A bright light flashed in Xiao Chun's calm eyes. Killing qi immediately surged out, and he placed his right hand on his saber hilt. Windwalk shoes activated. Blue Dragon Cloud Soaring Arts High-Ranked Technique, Roaming Dragon's 9 Transformations. Qingyun Peak's Secret Technique, Clear Wind Chop. Suddenly, 9 cool breezes blew in the front yard. As the cool breezes caressed one's face, it made one's heart relax. Suddenly, Xiao Chun's figure split into 9. Xiao Chun drew his saber and 9 resplendent saber lights lit up. However, no one could feel any killing intent. With the aid of the Windwalk shoes, Xiao Chun's speed instantly reached the speed of sound. The saber lights danced around as fast as lightning. The 9 figures moved like the wind. It was dazzling. It was hard to tell which was real and which was fake. Boom. When the cool breezes stopped, the 9 figures merged together. Sun Wei had 9 more wounds on his body. He had just drawn his sword. He did not even have the chance to draw it. The bright tip of the lunar shadow saber pressed against Sun Wei's throat. He did not even dare to breathe loudly. Blood gushed out of his wound like a fountain. Sun Wei's complexion instantly paled. The tip of the saber pressed against his neck made him feel like death was so close to him for the first time. He even felt numb to the pain of his wound. He could no longer feel it. Xiao Chen flicked his wrist and scratched Sun Wei's neck, leaving behind a faint trace of blood. He said indifferently, "Now that I have touched you, what do you think you want?" Sun Wei's complexion paled. He was enraged. However, when he saw Xiao Chen's cold gaze, he did not dare to say anything. He felt that if he resisted, this person would not hesitate to kill him. Mu Qingxue was not around. Ji Chongkong was the leader of the Nanling province's outstanding talents. At this moment, when Ji Chongkong saw Xiao Chen pressing his saber against Sun Wei's neck, as the leader of the Nanling province, it would be inexcusable if he did not make a move. Ji Chongkong slowly got up and walked over. The stars in his eyes flickered continuously. A boundless river of stars flowed in all directions. This made his eyes look boundlessly deep. If one was not careful, they would sink deep into the abyss. Ji Chongkong walked until he was about 10 meters away from Xiao Chen. He said sullenly, "Friend, this is a little too much." Xiao Chen turned around and looked straight into Ji Chongkong's eyes. He said indifferently, "How is it too much? He is only allowed to threaten and insult me. I am not allowed to retaliate." The moment Sun Wei entered the front yard, he immediately took the lead in mocking Xiao Chen. Although Xiao Chen could not be bothered with him, he was not a saint. He could remain indifferent when others scolded him. The second time Sun Wei made a move, he directly threatened Xiao Chen. This crossed Xiao Chen's bottom line. Although Xiao Chen had already sentenced Sun Wei to death in his heart, he did not intend to kill Sun Wei right now. This mission was definitely not simple. If he did not display a certain level of strength, he might not even be qualified to participate. Xiao Chen's main purpose in making such a forceful move was to intimidate the crowd. At the same time, he wanted to display his strength so that Sun Wei would not dare to be too presumptuous. This was how the world was. If Xiao Chen had displayed his strength from the start, there would not have been so many doubts. Ji Chongkong looked at the wound on Sun Wei's chest and said, "Let him go first. I, Ji Chongkong, guarantee that Sun Wei will not seek trouble for you during this mission. You will also have a share in this fortuitous encounter." Whether he sought trouble during the mission or not after the mission was over, Ji Chongkong did not care. Xiao Chen smiled faintly to himself. This Ji Chongkong really knew how to play word games. However, Xiao Chen had already achieved his goal. All he needed to do was to stop. Even if Sun Wei wanted to settle the score later, he was not afraid. He would just kill him. "Cassier." Xiao Chen sheathed his saber and said indifferently, "I hope your guarantee is effective." Sun Wei immediately felt a wave of relief. He quickly pressed the acupuncture point on his chest to stop the blood from gushing out. The 2 Sun family disciples who came with him were immediately supported by him and left the room. Wuxia. Just as Xiao Chen turned around, Ji Chongkong suddenly made a move. The stars in his eyes started to flicker rapidly. When Ji Chongkong sent out a palm strike, starlight filled the sky. The area within 100 meters of Ji Chongkong turned into a resplendent galaxy. "I guarantee that he will not seek trouble for you. But I did not guarantee that I will not seek trouble for you. Don't think that there is no one in Nanling province that you can do whatever you want," Ji Chongkong said with a sinister expression. Xiao Chen turned around and a tiger and dragon revolved around him. The dragon and tiger body sculpting art circulated rapidly. Xiao Chen punched, carrying the might of a tiger and a soaring dragon as he welcomed the attack. Bang! When the fist and palm met, there was a loud sound. An intense shockwave spread out, forming a strong wind that blew in the courtyard. Everyone's clothes and hair fluttered in the wind. The stars behind Ji Chongkong flickered. The starlight filled the sky and poured into his palm strike. The energy of the entire galaxy gathered together. However, this was the first time Xiao Chen used the final move of the Great Dragon Tiger Fist, Tiger and Dragon Soaring. after he cultivated the dragon and tiger body sculpting art to the threshold of the 5th layer. Xiao Chen's strength reached 15,000 kilograms. Regardless of aura or strength, he was not weaker than his opponent. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.